So notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of bylaw 0164B of the Riverside Local Board of Education, which was adopted in accordance with section 1.450 of the ORC in the Ohio Administrative Procedures Act. Can you call roll, please?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Ms. Grunensky.
Here.
Mrs. Grassi.
Here.
Mr. Audino.
Here.
Ms. Brewster.
Here.
Mr. Byers.
Here.
All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section on the agenda. I make a motion to approve.
Well, I wanted to, do I do it before that or after?
To
ask certain agenda items.
Yep,
to
you would
be
do it now?
Do it now, okay. So I wanted to ask if item F under personnel could be voted on separately.
So you're asking for it to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, just to have
Yep.
it somewhere.
We will have it pulled and voted on separately, so whoever's personnel, we'll just, it'll be
A through E.
A through E, and then F with a separate vote.
Okay, and then do we need to remove, is item C in the same situation toward the end under board business?
It's a
Those are
separate
all
vote.
separate votes.
So each of those like
Or separate votes.
is a separate vote, it's
Yes.
not A through C.
No.
Okay, so then I don't need to change
So
it. Okay, thank you.
with that. It's a separate vote when I read that.
Just, you'll read one motion with A through E, and then a second motion with F.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, so I make a motion to approve the agenda as listed with the adjustment of removing item F from the consent agenda to be voted on separately.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Grassi. And can I get roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mr. Audino.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mrs. Grunensky.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to our work session. So it's an overview and discussion regarding the funding options available to the board directed by policy 6234. And I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer.
This one.
You need me to read them?
No.
Okay. As you can see, we're looking at the 4 and the T. Thinking about changing the S to a small s. This is part of the presentation.
Are we going to have to agree on the other side?
No, we're good on the other side of the screen.
All
I
right.
just gotta.
I was going to tell Bryson to be ready. Like to get everybody engaged.
There we go.
There we go, and then we're gonna do a little bit of. There we go.
So as you all know, time is an issue. So obviously we'll stop at any point a board member chooses and answer a question. But in a meeting just the other day, Mr. Audino talked about meetings that he runs where he tries to answer the questions that you may have. before, and stop the question essentially. So we are trying to do that. So we've talked about this before, but it's just a timeline. If the board chooses to be on the ballot this November, that is the timeline that we'd like to hit. Some of those are have-tos. The 110 days out, or 100 days out for board resolution to proceed, and the copy of the tax resolution to the county auditor, that's non-negotiable, as is the August 5th filing deadline is also non-negotiable. Those have to be met or you will not be on the ballot. So whatever that may look like. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rettino to talk about what we've been working on cost containment and reduction considerations that are a little bit less focused on. The easy thing is cut staff. That's the easy answer. And that may have to happen depending on how things proceed, but we're a ways from that, in my opinion.
So I think to start, I think the first and foremost really is what put us in the position where we're at is the piggyback. So really to advocate for the commissioners and the 3 commissioners who are there for the decision regarding the homestead and the owner-occupied tax relief. If we could work to advocate for that to not continue for the foreseeable future, that puts us. We're still deficit spending, but that will move us back into where our original timeline is, which actually the piggyback moved us up a year for all intent and purposes. So that's the impact. That's approximately $1.6 million a year that we were told and we didn't plan for. And we are planning for things that are 4 and 5 years out. So having that advocacy with our county commissioners is incredibly important. Some of the other things that were some of the other bills by the state in terms of property tax, those are tenable. Those have some hold harmless agreements for the first year, so we can plan and have some real conversations and do due diligence and planning. This one was not the case at all. It was done rather quickly, and the impact in the first year is $800,000, and then obviously the 1.6 moving forward because it's on the tax year and not on the fiscal year. So it does make an impact, and kind of like I said, accelerates us up to where we need to be. When you talk about cost, there's always contractual reductions that we can look at. Over time, contract language with unions or vendors can become unnecessary and effective. One of the things that's in there, and just giving some examples, we do have the employee retirement incentive that does need to be collectively bargained. That when we talk about bargaining, that's not for 2 years out. That's not necessarily something we can do right now that will change that. Nor I think that is something that in terms of overall cost, we need to really study that. Does it make a difference? We do have April 1 language in there. And so we're coming up on that to really have a good study this year to see how many retirements we get after the April 1 to really kind of say, is this working, being effective? The reason to have it is when you have a retirement or reduction, of a high salary schedule person, you replace them with somebody who is significantly less expensive on the salary schedule if you have that April 1st date to get that good recruiting, so then you can bring them in with another high quality person and ultimately gives them cost savings in the end. Looking at cancer, adjusting the village representative contract, we've had some conversations about that in terms of what our owner's rep costs us in the long run and how can we adjust that to be more friendly, I think. And then looking at graduation expenditures or sourcing possibilities. Our graduation is something special and is a great thing. It is also the cost of that with the cost of labor and everything else is going up. It's solely right now is kind of funded based on purely district general fund. Can we find sponsors for that? Can we work to use some other venues to work to kind of say these funds are targeted towards graduation in a whole? So what we look at right now, graduation with the contract and all of the things that we do for it is about a $40,000 expense to the district. We can definitely justify and summarize some of that as well just through looking at sponsorships, through some of our partners, our bannership program. We have our banner program as well. We can put some advertising up and use some of those. Not that everything, not this student's graduation. I just saw the commercial this morning. This student sponsored by, K&T Bank. No, it's not going to work like that. But really having some kind of sponsors on some parts where we have on the video board beforehand. So, thank you to our business partners, so-and-so on the end of the senior slideshow, and some things like that can really kind of help with some of those fees that really target specific graduation to bring those fees down. So I think it's something we are looking at as well, and what we have for graduation as well. Do we need both video boards? Can we go to one? So really having that study along the way too. Those video boards are rather large that are up, and will one cover it, or is two necessary? And I think so those are some of the questions that we have to have moving forward to that aspect. And then consider a freeze or creation of new positions unless required by IEP law change or ODU unfunded mandate. We really do that now. We don't create necessarily new positions unless it's a one-for-one. We haven't come out and created a new position where we haven't seen a savings. So really looking to make the savings. I think the only one that I would potentially look at, is it a need, is in terms of custodial for the new buildings and the new additions that we put on in terms of custodial coverage. We've discussed that. But in terms of our teaching positions and those, we've kept, and administrative, we've kept them, the number the same, if not decreased along the way. And every time we have a retirement or a resignation, we do look at, do we need to fill it? Is it appropriate to fill it? Or, can we go through attrition for that position and move people around? So those are all things we are currently doing. Operational efficiency, this is more Dr. Thompson's baby, but looking at what we can do in terms of some of our operational changes. Energy efficiency upgrades, we do that. We're doing that now. We're doing that internally. So even the greater savings, we're switching out LED bulbs, putting LEDs in with the ballast, and our maintenance staff is doing it. So we're not bringing a company in to do it. We're putting that in to kind of work through smart thermostats and controls. Our buildings do have external controls. Part of the issues you run into is our buildings, the date of the age of some of our buildings make it very difficult to allow that temperature to drop too low, because if the boiler doesn't fire up, we have a real problem, especially when we expect real cold weather or in those sorts of things. So in this winter, especially with some of those harsh days, we kept our buildings up a little bit higher just to make sure that we didn't lose, our system didn't go offline. So some of it's preventative as well to make sure, because that is more important at some point than the few dollars we're going to save. Utility monitoring programs to detect waste, I think that's there. Bus route optimization software, looking at what that looks like. So relooking at our routes and bringing someone to help audit our routes to make sure we're doing it. I would also say shared services across our schools all the way, really looking to what that looks like. We do have a shared service agreement for special ed students at Painesville City. We don't necessarily utilize that as much as we can, so maybe looking at what that looks like as well. I was told to go faster, so I'm just kind of picking this up. Scheduling efficiency, so looking at our staffing accounts, so making adjustments to that. We do that now. So we look at how our teachers are used and kind of monitor those student to teacher ratios, especially at our secondary buildings. We're having those meetings. We're having those meetings on Monday. This should be pink, but I missed it. So that's something we do. Low enrollment electives or duplicate sections, we run those as well, reduce those as we can. I think a lot of that too comes out to scheduling. So sometimes we have classes that have really low enrollment, but they need it for graduation. Do we look to offer that every other year and make sure that we have a fix in the way and communicate that out to families that if you need this class, you have to take it this year.
Or even potentially online courses.
Absolutely. Use attrition, which we're doing right now to reduce, to avoid other cuts. And then looking at supplemental contracts, and do we fill them? Do we not need to fill them based on need, desire, that sort of thing, making sure that they fit the work that's actually done, and kind of right-sizing some of them along the way too. So I think that's the thing. And then shared services between schools as much as we can. Our people are running and their caseloads are there. We kind of try to be as efficient as we can with all of our personnel along the way, so as we go. We talked about transportation being a large expense. One would be adjust walk zones to where safe. That requires a policy adjustment. Not saying we go to minimum transportation, but maybe we look at kind of what our transportation guidelines are and where we go from there, and who that would impact. Explore bell schedules to determine if routing can be improved. What does that look like along the way? If we can, partner with neighboring districts. I mentioned Painesville City. We're also, kind of in the middle of exploring some of our other private school routes. Can we partner with some districts with them too to help, and also other entities to kind of help with some of that, what that looks like along the way. And then evaluate bus replacement schedules and maintenance contracts. We have constantly been doing that, and that's been a rather big topic with PI. Well, what does that look like kind of moving forward? Where's our fleet now? how long is our fleet lasting, and what do we realistically need to do to keep our fleet so that our students are safe, but that also that we are being efficient with that. So we had a big catch-up period when we cut busing. Now that we're back, we're kind of up, we can kind of cut back a little bit on it, but really looking at not necessarily making, hey, every year we're going to buy 3 buses, but do we need 3 buses or are 2 going to work this year? And then next year we know to kind of schedule some of that. Those are PI dollars, but that still makes a difference.
And looking at a contract that we recently passed that undercoats the buses, while I fully support undercoating buses, the current contract language is $50 a year. So that means we're paying to undercoat buses that are 15 or 20 years old. So we're gonna try with our sharp lawyer over there to see if we can renegotiate that contract and bring that back to you, one that makes more sense.
And then, and this is one that we're already looking at with Mr. Ritz, significantly reduce our reliance on contract van services. Where are out student places that can we do it in-house? Can we make some other things? So we're really working hard to do that, even with shared services along the way, and where students are placed and making some decisions that are best for the child, but then also efficient as well. So software audits, this would all be pink because we are in the purpose of doing all of this right now. Audit unused software licenses. Really making sure that we have that. COVID is one that I would say had a lot to do with this. At COVID, people were giving things away. So the software companies, here, use this and use this and use this. Just put your credit card, but we won't charge you. So they put the card in, and then eventually they started charging you, and it comes up, and it's an annual subscription, so you forget about it, and that's their business model, is forget about it. And the next month the next year comes up, and oh, here it is again, and we're not necessarily using it. Consolidate multiple platforms into one system. We are really looking at streamlining the purchase softwares we have to make sure that it does consolidate where we can along the way. Again, we do run into some issues with student data privacy with some of these things, which is why we have to buy some purchase services, but then also, does it meet our students' needs? I mean, there are some programs that are just more powerful than the free version, and the standards in that class may require it. So those subscriptions. District-wide contracts instead of school purchases, we've done that. We were discussing one today that we shifted to a district-wide instead of the individual schools, and we saved 20% on it. So that's a big start right there. And that was an elementary software. So that's so those little things add up. This is a big one, and it's a big one not only for cost, but also for student data privacy and security. Starting this year, so actually next school year, our technology director is a gatekeeper for any software that's being purchased for our students. So anytime staff wants our students to be rostered, which is putting the classes into it, then that software is going to go through our technology director to make sure it's compliant with all the laws and regulations that are out there, but then also that it really does fit and need what we have, and it is the best value that's there, so we know about it. And then open source when possible. We're a Google school. We're a Google school for a reason. Google provides probably the best value for what we need.
And in terms of the gatekeeper, how we're assuring he's the gatekeeper is those funds to purchase those software programs are no longer housed in the buildings. It's one account through the tech director. Otherwise, that wouldn't happen.
So I think this one is a program and course review. We want to provide as many opportunities for students as we can, but we do want to look at our low participation extracurriculars to say, are they really worth it, and are our students getting what they want? Not that we want to go through and just cut them all. That's not the option at all. It's really making those informed decisions, and does a new program fit them better as well? So looking at that. Combine similar programs across the schools if we can to make sure that they meet there, especially if we're funding it. Assess cost per student for specialized programs. So really looking at what we're offering to students, and we set our pay to participate fees a long time ago, and the cost to run those has gone up significantly. Is it time that we look at that with some kind of checks and circuit breakers in place? Like, do we put a family cap on pay to participate, but look at, do we adjust those fees? Do we adjust fees for some of our non-athletic activities? Sometimes some of our activities we offer students, we let them sign up, we pay an advisor, but we don't charge there's no activity fee. Is there a flat rate activity fees for students to kind of come into. And those are tough decisions because you want to encourage participation. We want to encourage that well-rounded decision. But the reality of it is some of these are getting to become more and more expensive, and we've kept that fee along the way. And we've seen more inflation for the cost of between transportation, the cost of the advisor, the cost of even the entrance fees, and all that have gone up. So is it time to really take a look at what we're charging and kind of offer some of that?
What is our pay to participate fee right now?
Sports are $250 a season, and I believe non-athletics are $150. I believe that's the case. I don't have it memorized, but yeah.
I think you're right.
I think,
The sports is correct, I know that.
and I'm marching band's $150, so
Oh,
There
there
you
you go.
Yeah.
I do
so
too.
that's
Strong force.
yeah. But I do not believe there's a family cap.
It's actually, I think it's 200 per sport.
Maybe
Or
varsity's
is it
250.
Lori's-
Yeah. We'll get you the actual numbers.
Was I overcharged? No.
No, we'll get the actual.
This is based on 24, 25, so
Yeah.
Okay,
maybe it,
I owe right now.
It's the board member extra fee.
Yeah.
And theater is like theater and marching band have a fee associated with them as well, but those are the two, we don't charge for the athletic, like academic decathlon, which we'll talk about later. There's no fee, but it's not that we want to charge a whole lot, but there are costs associated with that come through. We drive them places, we pay a bit of advisor. Robotics is another great program that we offer, but we don't necessarily, we put money in, and it would also go to, sometimes they have their own account, so two things of that. Again, don't want to make it so that it's not, it's cost prohibitive for our family, so having that circuit breaker, I think, is key.
Okay. Just
Into
to
as well.
make sure if anybody watches this, it is 200, I just looked it
Oh,
up.
okay, so it's
On my
200, I
account.
think, I do think that the non-sports are 150 still.
Okay.
So I think there's a difference to that. Okay? And then reviewing our grant-funded programs that continue after funding is expired. Sometimes we get funds, we get grants to start something up, but then that grant's not necessarily sustainable. So if we're gonna get grant applications or grants that say, hey, I wanna start this and it's all grant-funded, that's great, but then this is a classic education move too. That's great, we're great to have it, but what's the sustainability like? And what is the plan for sustainability down the road? And are we expected to absorb that cost, or where is that cost coming from?
So can I ask a question on that also? Is
Mhm.
the Board of Education apprised of those kinds of things that happen when we get grant funding for something and it has to be sustained? Does the board have the opportunity to weigh in and say, unless you have some funding options after that grant is used, what's the plan? Because
I would
it's
think,
the same
yeah.
issue we have in nonprofit.
I would think that moving forward, as part of the acceptance of the grant, that we have a plan that this is how we're going to fund it moving forward. Because I know the board doesn't vote on grant acceptance.
Or is this a test and we're gonna find out this is what we wanna keep doing, right? Like.
Mhm.
those
Yeah, a
different-
pilot
Yeah.
versus what's in a grant. I think there are some that are, it just depends on where the grants are, but in terms of what we have now, the grants that we have are more for, currently, are more for geared towards like teacher professional development, trying to move some of that forward. But I don't think we have any student grants, do we, like
We do
programs?
not, and I've been very thoughtful, and at least in my tenure here, in not getting a grant or applying for a grant for a program that we did not have a sustainability plan for. That doesn't make any sense to me, and it never has, which is why we're in a new building and we don't just have equipment and programs, do you know what I mean? Because we wouldn't have had anywhere to do that, so.
Yeah, it is, I think that's
Really,
one,
yeah.
when you talk about the traditional and standard-based, hey, how are we gonna make some, trim some, we've done that already, and part of that is where we came from. So our history, when we made our history is really driving where we are now, and we are lean. We say that, we say that a lot, we are a lean organization, we continue to, because of, and I will say, it's because of the people who were here when we had nothing. And when we were single, $800 a sport to play sports, self-funded PTP, no elementary special, like all of those that we had to make to kind of keep the doors open. We've been very cautious as how we add things back to look at truly sustainability along the way. Facility management is another one that's out there. Older buildings are, the older the building gets, the more expensive they come. They can drive up costs. Consolidate underutilized buildings. We talked a lot about taking Melridge offline, using it for a different purpose with the Buckeye project, as long as that comes in to where we're at. Lease unused space to community partners if we have an opportunity to partner with some communities to make sure that that is there. And that opportunity is there along the way to utilize those buildings as potential revenue generators. Redraw attendance boundaries to maximize facility usage and improve bus routing. That comes with the Buckeye project and redistricting. We've not been shy about that and been kind of public that when we finish the addition of Buckeye, that school year we start and open it, we are going to have to redistrict our elementary boundaries and really take a hard look at where our students are going for the next few years. It doesn't mean that we're going to set those districts boundaries that are there and just say, these are them for the next 50 years. That's not true at all. The big kind of variable out there is the casement development and the 1,300 and some homes that eventually will be there and what that looks like moving forward. So really taking a look at kind of that. But we need boundaries for now, and then we will have to look again as we go. I think we're a large district, 66 square miles, so if we can kind of shut some things down, shift some things around to be more efficient along the way to where our kids are going for the next foreseeable future, then we're good, and then we kind of make adjustments as we need to. We've talked about replacing Riverside and Lamouth and maybe using Lamouth for a different thing. What is a new building? Do we get more value for a new building than we do putting money into here if a boiler were to go or something else? We have some significant issues with this building. There's some significant costs. So what does that look like? And is there a tenor in the community for that? So kind of having those real conversations. I think that both Dr. Thompson and I agree, building new is more cost affordable than any type of remodel to look like a new building. And you can build new and still have that same look as the old building. What can that look like? Because the one thing I know, when you drive along Riverside Drive, the building itself, that look that's beloved by our community, and it is something that we are proud of. And what does that look like moving forward? And can we do that and still have those options that are out there? And I think that's one of the questions. And then also the last one is non-essential spending. Examples of that: travel and conference limits, no out-of-state travel. I don't know when we go up. We limit those as much as possible now. It's something that's there. If you want to go out of state, we really take a hard look at what that looks like. Printing reductions and moving to digital. That's something we try to continue to do. There are some reasons for it to have paper, but moving to digital as much as we can. I think we've tried to do that district-wide. We've even done that with some of standardized copying and centralized copying. Standardized purchasing rules, which we're working to get those in place. Centralized supply ordering, we have some of those in place, not necessarily all of them. One example would be paper. Copy paper is one of our biggest expenses, but we do offer those from the central order. And then limitations on credit card usage, and we are putting those structures in place as well for the next year. And the other one as well is another thing that we are doing for next year as well. The coverage of open blankets, not blankets as in blanket purchase orders, and not the kind that keep you warm. So the last part is when you look at cost containment making a difference, and we know this, when you add staff, it's approximately $90,000 for a new teacher for 1 year with benefits kind of all in. Over time, that compounds. If you have a 5 years down the road, you're looking at a $450,000 savings. So every reduction we make, whether it's a 1 year temporary reduction that we long-term or we know we're going to bring it back, we have an opportunity to save a year, or whether we can kind of go ahead and not eliminate the position altogether, it does make a difference, and it is an impact in our future. And I think we saw that this year with some of the reductions we made. Now, some we may have to, based on class sizes, predicted class sizes, and all that, we shift some things around. But it's not. It is important to say status quo isn't status quo. So every year we're making we meet with our principals. We have staffing meetings to kind of say, what do you need based on the class sizes that are there. We have a couple large classes coming through. We have a couple really small classes. So things shift along the way, and kind of how do we make those adjustments.
Where do we get the 90,000 number?
So that's
what is that comprised of? Because it's payroll benefits and insurance and those
payroll
kinds of things.
benefits, SCRS contribution from.
And are we using an average salary?
No, that was just a random number I made up out of the top of my head, being quite honest. It was just a number. So I'm just saying, if it was a first-year teacher, it'd be $65,000. If it was a veteran teacher, the average teacher's around $75,000. Throw in their bennies, they're somewhere around $95,000.
Right, I'm
So-
just asking,
Yeah, so there's really nothing other. The only reason to put that on there was so often we look at a cut and we say, well, that's only 90,000, that's only 60,000, that's only 100,000. We have a $50 million, $75 million budget. But instead of doing that, focus on the last number, which is minus $4 million that we're trying to dig our way out of.
So even though
Sure.
the number is random, it's still an example of if someone made 90, the total dollar could be close to $500,000.
Yeah, it's just to illustrate
Over 5 years.
exactly, which is where that minus 4.5 million sits. So that's the idea, just to understand the difference between a compounding expenditure and a one-time expenditure, and I know you know.
And I'm only asking that because I don't want the public to think that a staff person costs us $90,000, right? Like,
They could.
It could, but on average, it might be a little bit less than that. If you're reducing and you're bringing in a new person, it's probably gonna cost less than that, but.
Well, and I would say that's where we're in the benefit, when we know what openings we need,
Right.
and we know them early, we can go out and recruit early and grab the best, the best out of the college fairs and all that, and get them, and that's what we are doing, to kind of get our postings out there, to really look at what we're looking for, to make a concerted effort to make sure that we get, high quality, and that can grow and that can fit in, but kind of move forward, so.
I think that's a challenge with staffing, right, is that, one of our goals is to improve our report card, improve our grades, things like that, and that comes along with staffing and making sure we have the staff to support our students, so there's a challenge there, right, that I think we
I
have to be
would
very
argue that's the
careful
biggest
with.
challenge with the system.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily, reward experience.
Right,
Where other businesses and things like that, they reward experience, but we don't. We do in terms of the same, but once you hit a certain spot, there are districts that don't even look at you unless we can't find anybody else. There are some open, high need, high fill positions that we have to have, but for some of those where we get a stack of applicants that are this thick and still, it's a lot less in terms of what we're willing to offer, to bring that person in. I think that's a legitimate comment, though. It's a double-edged sword. We try to look for the best that we can kind of really shape and make sure that they grow and that they're willing to learn.
so can I ask, lot there, right, and
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
fine.
concentrate on everything at one time.
Mhm.
I guess I would ask Dr. Thompson and you, we can see what you're working on already, but what's that priority list? Like, what do we go after first? Like, what do we really start digging into first? If you guys could put something like that together for us?
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
think we have some low-hanging fruit that are there. None of those really close the gap
Right.
to a huge amount. I think that's the important thing to get to the point is, we could come back, but I would say, easy low-hanging fruit. Obviously, we've made some of the reductions in terms of technology. That's gonna save us some along that. I think the other one is really looking at, and this is, where's the board's tenor for fees? And for student fees and kind of where we put some of this. Now, that's not gonna solve $4.5 million. It doesn't, but we offer a lot of these things. Do we adjust some of those fees that are, commensurate with other local school districts?
Yeah.
To
Yeah, I
fit-
guess, I know we're gonna do a working session, right? So
Yeah.
with that, could you guys bring back, here's where we think we go next? Just, and again, a rough list, just so we understand kind of what we're gonna start looking at first.
I'll certainly comply, but the focus should be on, all of these things are fringe. They don't solve the problem.
Right?
I think our time should be spent right now on addressing the problem instead of the symptoms.
You have something you want to add?
I don't know.
Well,
We've-
Okay, well, I want to mention one thing before we move on. Aside from what you just mentioned, Dr. Thompson, and thank you for the thoroughness of all those slides, what I would love to see, deficit spending aside, because this school district's not entering deficit spending as a result of poor choices here,
No.
but slides like the slides that were numbered 2, 5, 7, and 8, for example, I know I personally would love to just see that be a part of an annual process. Even if we had $1 billion in the bank account, any business that would be for profit, even though we're not, would have something in play to look at those efficiencies year in and year out. Some kind of P&L statement of some sort where we would hone in on those 4 things in particular.
I absolutely think that we could do that. We make our discussions with our principals and recommendations for staffing, and I know that's getting a little bit too much in the weeds, but here's our overall discussion in terms of what we think we can, absorb through attrition, through the next year, what we need to hire back and what we don't. Because I think those are all big, that's where we're gonna save the majority of our money, and how long that will last. And we can't necessarily predict our future, but we can look at next year versus the year after, and kind of what we think are the solutions that are there.
Yeah, yes, and coincidentally, the staffing one wasn't one I mentioned. Granted, I just rattled off some numbers. I'm being more specific to the, like, credit card usage, audits of unused software, things like that, that can just go under the radar pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so next steps, we do need to schedule a work session and kind of get something, because this is a lot deeper that's there, and it really is. Yes, we can do a little bit, but that doesn't fix the underlying problem that we're facing down the road. And looking at what that formal action looks like, and then, forming that levy committee and looking at what the kids committee is to look at what the tenor is in terms of where the board wants to go. So I think that's where we are at with that. Any
When
questions?
does the first action have to be taken? Is there a date specifically? No, it said June, but there's no date, I think,
Well, it's a
or May,
July.
whatever. What is the date we're looking at? And are they different for income tax versus
100 days out for income tax.
millage? It's
So-
are they different?
Yes.
Yeah. Millage is 90, income tax is 100. I believe.
Okay, so-
Millage 90?
Those are both set at, for income tax.
Okay.
So 90 days if we're going for property tax, 100 days if we're going for
Is that?
income
Correct.
tax.
Yeah.
What is
So we're looking at July and August to actually have,
But like, what dates? I'm
For
looking
November,
for dates
specific-
specifically.
okay, specific dates.
It's November 3rd, right?
November 3rd is the election day.
Correct.
Yeah. So that March, I believe that the one that has a specific date on the 90 days is a specific date.
The 26th.
Yeah, the 100 days actually, I believe, falls on a Sunday. I think it falls on a Sunday. So we would have to be safe, report that Friday, which would be 2 days sooner. So it would actually be 112 days.
That's the 26th, that's the Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. So we'd have to report that Friday. Or be prepared that Friday to submit.
Okay, so in case the question comes up, because I know we discussed it, but for the benefit of other people listening, that we select in November, did we look at other options? I'm just putting it
Other
out.
options of regarding.
Of when to run the levy.
You can delay it, and just know that every time you delay it, it compounds the deficit significantly.
Right, I just
So-
wanted to get that.
Sure, you could go anytime you want. You could go into state receivership before you seek a levy if you choose.
I think the biggest thing in November with whatever we get is we get collections earlier. We benefit from collections from a half a year. If it's property tax, it's a half a year. If it's income tax, you get another quarter, I believe, earlier than you do with those. So
They stare it in, though. They stare in.
Yeah. So
It takes a little
yeah.
while to get the full, it takes almost 2 years to get the full income tax benefit.
If the tenor is income tax, we do need to move a lot quicker than a traditional property tax raise.
And then as far as the cost of, having it in November as opposed to a special election where it's May or August or something like that. Isn't it
So-
more costly?
It is more costly to have it outside of November, I believe. They have, in terms of a special election, I think they very limited what you can do with a special election, so it's November or May,
Okay.
because they're already running some of those. But I think that, the less issues that are on there, the more expensive it becomes.
Right.
Yeah, and this being a midterm across the country, I think that would certainly bode well for us historically, depending on who's in the White House, depends on the flavor of how the midterms turn out, so just something to consider.
And then statewide, you keep hearing, I don't know if there's enough signatures, but there's a lot of discussion about the property tax elimination.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we don't know how many signatures they have and if they'll get their 400,000 by July. That's a big ask to get. We've heard some of our advocates as well as some of the other groups not think they're going to get it on for this year because they don't think they'll have their signatures by July. That doesn't mean that they won't. It doesn't mean that they can't. So it's something that we have to, obviously prepare for and look at what that is. I don't know where the state is with that, nor do I know kind of what the, we keep asking what's the answer to that group, and that group as well, the state will figure it out. That scares me. That scares me a lot. So I think that's, and that's something that we've kind of continuously said is having a plan. We were impacted by a vote of 3, because we planned out. I mean, if property taxes gets eliminated, where does that go? Not only with, general operating funds, but then all of the money that's indebted to property taxes. And so, Parkside and Riverview, the original buildings, we're still paying on them, and there's still a bond issue that's out there that's funded by property tax. So what does that look like?
Who's on the ballot in May? Do we know?
Menor,
I mean,
Menor is on the ballot.
Menor is on for property tax.
Painesville City is a property tax, I believe.
I thought it was earned income tax.
No, sorry, Painesville City's earned, Menor's a traditional property. The difference between, well, no,
And
actually,
then
city.
then you have Wickliffe and Willoughby Eastlake.
Wickliffe is Willoughby Eastlake pulled there, so Willoughby Eastlake
So
is
they're not at all.
I believe Madison has to be, I believe. I think they are. I don't know what their issue is.
That's May.
And they haven't, so we've got four different districts going in May.
If you look statewide, there are a lot of districts that are going in May, and they are going income tax. Twinsburg is 1.5%. It's over a percent. 1.25%.
Before we, but it bodes in our favor. We don't have to vote on anything till June. It would be interesting, and it will be interesting to see what happens in these districts. I have my own thoughts on what's gonna happen. Before we make a decision on what it is and how we wanna do it, I will be very interested to see what May's results are, even across the state, what they look like. Not that it means that we don't need it, I have some hesitation.
I would caution waiting until June. Then you don't even gear up your levy committee till the end of June, and there's early voting. You would have no, depending on what we do especially, it's going to take a lot of communication and education in the community. It's going to take a thoughtful and hard campaign. And if you don't even decide to go to approve it until June, my recommendation would be skip November and wait till May, if you're gonna wait that long.
Personally, if we're gonna have a discussion, I don't know that I'm absolutely ready to make a decision here in March. I haven't heard enough about what we're actually doing. I don't have the details on, these many people are retiring, and this is what our 5-year forecast is going to look like when we rehire these people, and maybe we're gonna cut this. I don't know what that is, and until I start to hear what that means, I'm not fully committed yet. I'm not saying I know we don't need it, but I'm saying I think the community needs to hear specifically what we are doing so that they know what it is that they're either gaining, losing, keeping with the ask that we're going. I think they deserve that. So that's just
Yeah,
my thought.
I guess where we know we're gonna need it.
Right.
Like, there's no, we can't get around not going to the ballot, like, we have to. I haven't seen the magic solution not to, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah, so, and I understand the whole idea of making sure the campaign committee has time, all that, but, well, I guess also, I think, let's go through the rest of this slide, right? Like, there's
Well,
things,
a lot,
there's
and I don't think we're gonna
information.
make it through all of them.
Yeah,
So
we're
not
we're
gonna
gonna,
come close.
yeah, so we're gonna, I think the next thing that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Thompson a little bit with the updated facility cost between the ballot that was on, and if we were to put a new facility, because we talked about what it costs and what it could potentially cost to replace the building here. So I will turn it over, he did all the work on this, and they're really kind of, I don't think they're gonna bust with that, but really, I didn't do anything, I just looked at it and said, yeah, those look good. To throw, what does it look like projection-wise in 2022 versus 2026, and what the difference is in that. So those slides are very small. We can send the actual spreadsheet out to you a little bit more so you can see them. I didn't realize that when I put it up there. But with that, I'll turn it over to you.
What you're looking at is what was put together in 2022. The total build is $162 million. The actual building itself is $147 million. And in my view, according to our research on student enrollment, there are some challenges. It's way oversized, and then of course it has some great amenities if you could pass it. But that's 162 million. Next slide, please. This is what we modeled, worked up with TDA. This includes, and it's hard for me to, well, actually I can turn here. What an idiot. So what we're looking at right now is, and I'm going to show you student enrollment numbers and show you how student enrollment numbers are declining, and they continue to decline. I'll also show you what they are projected with Casement if Casement were to go full size, meaning 1,357 homes if those were to be built, based on demographic information that we do have. But anyway, the building itself, this is a 712 building. It is right now, our students would fit in this building now as it stands. And then I'll show you the projections of declining enrollment. That's 107 million for the base building. Then if you add a weight room, which is necessary, a Board of Education office, which is, and instead of building, the previous plan was a 6,000 square foot central office. If we put 2,000 on the home that's next to us, I don't know what you call that home, I don't know what it's called, but if we put a 2,000 square foot addition across the front, that's a significant savings. The Performing Arts Center, theater, you could certainly make an argument for either one. In the previous mock-up, it was 1,200 seats. This mock-up is 600 seats, so it's a significant reduction in cost of constructing that space. And we would need to relocate the softball diamond, and so there's a cost of $500,000 for that. And that comes out to 100 and total all ends 119 million. So you can see where those costs are and all associated costs are. So how can you fund this? So there has been a lot of discussion about, can you use income tax, can't you use income tax? The answer is yes, you can use income tax. So what you've got here is the Ohio Revised Code. The interesting part is there was a statement made, well, you can't use income tax for debt. Well, that is true. That's a true statement. And I can't say I understand or agree with this, but the state of Ohio does not consider a COPS as debt. It is a lease, so it is not considered debt. Not only does that allows you to use income tax to pay for it, and it also does not count against, you can only indebt a school district up to 9% of its total property valuation. You don't, that doesn't count against your indebtedness level. So neither does the $15 million COPS for Buckeye, for that matter, either. So it is called a lease purchase obligation. There's the statutory requirements for it. Next slide. I'll let you read that on your own for the sake of time. And then, so when you put the statutes together, this is what it says, and basically the final line, or the bottom half of that, I think you got one more bullet, I think. Nope, okay. This is a legal use of that, of income tax. It doesn't mean that that's the best answer, it's just an answer, it's just an option for consideration. So again, it's under the funding authority, and so the question really is, if you were to build a 712 facility with a passage of a 1% earned income tax, Can you do that and meet your operational needs? Next slide. So this slide comes to us from Priscilla and his folks. This tells us how, how much the income tax brings in. So, and what you can borrow against it. So if we do earned income, which is the top box, at 1%, that's pulling in about 13.3 million. That's very close to what we projected as well. And you can borrow up to $197 million against that income tax. So a 1% earned income tax. Now, you'll notice it says 2029. I've been advised that a 2% is a conservative but fair expectation on growth. Property tax does not grow, we know, because of House Bill 920. House Bill 920 does not impact income tax, so that number will grow by about 2% every year. That still does not keep up with inflation. And we go well above inflation because of 10% for health care every year. Pay raises are significantly higher than that when you add steps, et cetera, et cetera. So, but an earned income tax generates 14.3 million. The general fund needs $7.5 million to keep us off in our projections for at least 7 years off the ballot. Now that could come in the form of property tax, or it could come in the form of an income tax. Our debt obligation for that building would be $6.9 million for 30 years. So if you look at 2029, when our first payments would start coming due, we would have revenue at 14.3 million, expenses at 14.4 million. That's not the overall budget. I'm just talking about the income tax, meeting our needs to balance our budget, and paying that debt obligation. Then by 2030, we're upside down by 100,000 here. By 2030, we would not be upside down. Next slide. Enrollment data. So what we presented, does it jive with what the experts are saying about our student enrollment? We're at about 280 kids a class right now. So enrollment's declining. Will that continue? Well, casement. Let's keep going so we can get to casement. Casement right now has 1,358 homes. We average, apparently we have half-bodied kids because we have 0.57 kids per home in our school district.
That's for the developments only. So,
Yes.
So our newer developments and our concentrated housing developments, like a casement, averages out to be 0.57.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like
We looked at Summerwood,
That's this guy.
Park,
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Big
So
Erie Shores, Fairway Pines.
I did it a totally different way, and we came up with almost the same numbers. But anyway, that's 59.5 new students per grade, or 119 additional middle school students, and 238 or 119 middle school, and 238 high school. If casement comes to fruition and develops at 1,358 kids, if it stays consistent with demographic data in the community, we would be able to offset that enrollment. Basically, the combination of our declining student enrollment and casement makes us stay pretty stable.
So
If
can you
that-
add to your chart, like from 2021 on, like what they estimated our enrollment and what it actually was?
Yes.
As I think we've had some problems with that in the past. and
Certainly.
Just
I
to make
did.
sure we understand.
No, that's a
it.
great piece of data. Yeah, we can pull that. It's a great idea. So enrollment impact. So trying to plan for, trying to plan for what we would do. So if this is assuming that casement would come. So we would have with our declining enrollment of, we know, just over 50, I think it's 52.6 kids per year. If that stays consistent, or excuse me, we receive these casement kids, the 1% income tax, we're assuming 1,500 of those homes would be non-income earners. In other words, retired people that, because some of them are townhouses, some of those things that might be attractive to retired people. If that's true, household income average in our district's $107,000. So we would estimate, and this is on the low end, just a little over $1 million a year we would generate of income tax from the people that live in casement if 1,358 homes are built.
This is a good point to add this. That 107,000 per household, we did the math, equates to, for earned income, $44 a paycheck per house, not per person per house, but per house.
That's correct.
$44.
I would also say, with that, with earned income in this case, we are already scheduled to gain revenue from casement as the new bill comes out through the TIF agreement, which is for 30 years plus. This is on top of that. So this is the way that we would gain income from earners who moved into that house.
Have they even started anything?
I just talked with Painesville Township. They're about a year behind,
Okay.
is my understanding.
But there is some activity over there.
There's some, but they do not. They were supposed to have the first home up by the end of the year this year, and they're one of the trustees said there's no way.
Yeah, and I don't know if you could publish a copy of that TIF thing, because I know we have some new board members, and it shows that, when the years and what we're getting, so that you would have that
We
information.
certainly can dig that up and get that to them.
Yeah.
I don't know who can explain it. Yet, but we'll show
Well,
it to them.
it was a decent chart.
Yeah.
So if there is, so what we would do, if this happens and we start to see more students than we anticipated and our enrollment grows, and as Mrs. Krasinski said, maybe the numbers that we're seeing don't actually end up being that, the projections. So in other words, the projections are wrong. This is the plan. Those dollars, we would set those dollars into the PI account, transfer those over, that $1 million, so that, and design the building in such a way that we would know where additional classroom space would be built on.
So one of the reasons why I'm a fan of property tax for bond levies for purposes of construction is because you're mortgaging something for a period of time and you're guaranteed whatever it is you need to collect for those bond payments. If you don't collect your income taxes, you're now taking a hit to your general fund if we do this way. I don't know that I'm sold on it yet.
I understand. I mean, this is definitely something new to me and to Chris and to pretty much everyone.
And I don't deny that income tax is a great way of thinking for general fund and operational, but I'm not sure I'm a fan of it for construction at all.
For brick and mortar, yeah.
For brick and mortar, because again, it's mortgaged property, and in any event, I know that a bond levy, doesn't matter what your property taxes, like what your property values are, that bond levy is going to collect higher, lower, whatever it needs, because you're giving the auditor a debt schedule.
That's correct.
And so there's a level of comfort there.
House Bill 920 has one positive impact on school funding. While it won't go up because of House Bill 920, House Bill 920 also doesn't allow it to go down, to your point.
But debt service, it doesn't, House Bill 920 does not apply,
Not
so it
affect-
doesn't make any difference. Whatever your house values are, you're gonna see a bump in your property taxes. If you've gotta pay $2 million in debt service, you are gonna collect $2 million
That's
to
correct.
pay the debt, because it's
That
a
is
debt
correct.
schedule. And
There's no doubt about it. The challenge is, I mean, probably at the end of the day, is it easier to market and pass a 1% income tax in an atmosphere where there's a lot of pressure, as was just previously stated by Ms. Brewster? There's a possible amendment to abolish property tax, whether it makes it on the ballot this November or it doesn't. There's a lot of pressure on property tax right now. And to meet our economic needs, as I already showed you at our retreat, and to do a bond issue, would be pushing 8 or 9, probably close to 9 mils
Well-
bond for a bond issue and an operating levy.
But so again, I'll go back and I'll say, the state of Ohio, every entity that has bonds will default if they don't exclude bonds from property tax relief. So they're gonna have to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
and even if they tried to, that would go to the Supreme Court at the end of the day. Like, you have too many things,
Yeah.
too many financial institutions and markets would collapse around the state.
Yeah, I'm not even going there
Right.
in my mind. I'm
But-
just simply saying, can you pass 9 mils?
Typically,
Or
I
can
don't-
you pass 1% income tax?
But I'm proposing that we don't have to do one or the other. We could do both, and
So that's a
right,
possibility.
like you could consider property tax for your construction purposes, and we haven't even talked about that in the strategic plan yet and what the community wants. And so to be putting that now here while we're having this discussion, at least for me, doesn't seem to be the appropriate place to be putting it. And again, we're going back to, are we doing the cart before the horse thing? I don't want to go there again.
Yeah, I get challenged whether, we have a facilities plan that doesn't outline brand-new schools. Not that I don't agree with putting up brand-new schools, believe me, I would love them for our district, but I think that's what's been approved. So I have a challenge with myself just saying, hey, we can skip over what's in our plan until we, again, go through the process of making sure where the community's at this time. So that's one of my concerns, but we definitely need operating money. Can I ask, what happens to the agreement we made with Painesville Township and the TIF if, for instance, that whole property tax thing goes away? Because that's built on property tax, right?
Yeah,
Right.
We're still working that issue.
They don't know. And so all that property tax is being used to fund all the development.
Oh.
So if property tax goes away, that development ceases until they work all that
But
out.
are they not issuing bonds on the face of that, right? Like,
I believe they are,
Right,
they
so
are.
that's a- yeah.
But I don't know, but it's 5 phases, so at what point do the bonds start and stop? And I don't know what I'm not 100% sure as to what, they don't, and again, they don't have those answers.
right.
Because
And
there's.
that's how they're
yeah.
getting all that initial infrastructure
Yes.
dollars is through the sale of bonds. So
Yes.
they're going to the market as well.
So they are, and I think they did that for the first one, I believe, but they don't know, I mean, there's a whole lot as to what if it passes, where do we go? So I think that we do need another work session to discuss a lot of this and where we go, and what we look at kind of moving forward. And I think that's something we need to talk about potentially even in new business. I know I sent a doodle poll out and didn't necessarily come up with some good luck, so we can talk about, some common dates and maybe get in a tighter window for that as well. But I think that, kind of in the interest of timing and to keep things moving, I think we kind of put a pause on this till we get to the next step and move forward.
That's fine. Jimmy Lee and Mr. Ardino
Yeah.
and Ms. Ryers, do you guys have the current facilities plan or know where to find it? Just so you have it? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So
It's right on.
there was some kind of survey that went out, and I penciled it in 8 to 11 on the 26th finance meeting, but was that just a poll you were taking?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get out.
There was some kind of poll that you were taking among the board members?
That was for the working session.
That was for the work session.
That was the work session?
Yes, we did not come up with something that was common. So
Okay, so that's a question.
that is a question that we are going to try to iron out today.
There's
Okay.
a couple dates that 4 people can attend, so we'll have to talk about the dates and make sure that we can see if there's any adjustments that can be made.
Okay, and the only other thing I want to say is, and it hasn't been mentioned a lot, but the state and what's happening and even our local government with our funding. And then the fact that we have a lot of continuous levies, and where is that going to put us going forward?
So I asked about that too today.
Yeah.
I think that bill is going to be dead.
Okay,
That's what some of Tony Palagio from the Alliance, who does a lot of work down in the state. He doesn't know, but he says it's not getting a lot of legs.
yeah, okay.
So I don't
Because I was
know.
going to talk about that under.
Yes, so I think that is, it's one to definitely watch, but he said it's not getting the traction as some of the others.
Okay.
So, okay.
So before we move on, can we get a date?
Do you want to do that now?
That's fine.
I would love to.
Yeah.
So what were the 2 dates that you had with 4 people? Let's start with that one. I can look up my email also.
I am looking it up right now. So the one that I had that, and I think part of the issue was the 3 hours, was Thursday, March 26th from 4 to 7.
Book it, do you know?
So can we work within that date
I'm sorry, can you say that one more
to
time?
start? Thursday, March 26th, and I proposed 4 to 7. Our students are still on spring break, but we can, is it a timing because of the 4? Do we push it back to 5? I don't know if we're gonna need 3 hours. Mr. Audino said 3 hours, and sometimes
You will need 3 hours.
have the questions that go there, but is that, let's start with that one.
4:30 works a little better for me.
Okay?
I can still make it work.
That
So
time
the
is-
8 to 11, we're scratching.
The 8 to 11 did not, I'm going with the highest, we're gonna go from the highest and work our way down. So do I hear 4:30? 4:30 going once? Is 4:30 good with everybody if we do the 26th?
Yep.
4:30 is
Or would 5, we could do 5.
the 26th.
It doesn't matter after
Yeah.
4:30, it's fine either way.
4:30 on the 26th?
4:30.
4:30 it is, there it is.
To when?
Till we're done. We scheduled 7:30, but hopefully we can get it
Next
quicker.
day.
4:30 on the
Breakfast.
26th.
So, yeah, till Friday morning. So, all right, so 3:26 from 4:30
Come in pajamas.
to 7:30 work session.
And would that be in the ENSCO room?
That would be in the board conference room.
Okay.
Send that meeting notice out right now, Mike.
Assuming I don't get stuck in Orlando, because I'll be down for the band, we'll be good to go.
They've been having some storms run through.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
and since we're gonna be having that meeting, I know it wasn't mentioned, we talked a lot about things, but nothing was mentioned about transportation. You know, we know what our current bus, maintenance is looking like. And also, there were some concerns about the field house. So I don't know, when you talk about something for everyone, I don't know, especially the field house.
What
I know it
concerns?
doesn't have air conditioning, it doesn't, there were other concerns.
So that was
The
part of,
community
so I mean, I
uses
think
it.
we go into more of, that's part of the new, the facilities plan upgrades. Definitely take a look at that too. I'll bring the old facilities plan back, we can talk about that, what that looks like too. But I think that's something that absolutely, as we bring it through buildings and grounds, there are some things we'd like to do now. But then, and we have some cost estimates for that, and then some things that, we can afford. There are some things that are long, like air conditioning is not something we can do now. I would love to put just a couple of mini splits in there and call it a day. Rich isn't here, missed it, but it's just not gonna, that's an expensive add to that one. So I think we
We
look
just
at,
didn't wanna lose
yep,
track.
oh no, we're not, that's something that's out there, so.
So will we have any strategic plan updates from the meetings that they're doing by the 26th? Or
No,
are
our
we
first-
not even starting those yet?
Well, so we're starting one before spring break and then one is after. So that's in the middle of spring break, so we don't have the focus groups.
What
to
was the
that aspect.
date we thought the strategic plan would be done? April?
August.
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 Was I dreaming?
Marketing and Dr. Malak
Oh my
for a stroke if they say April. She's already having a stroke by August.
I was gonna say, how convenient.
I knew it was an egg,
It's,
but I
yeah.
got asked, what's gonna be done?
Before she turns the lights off and closes the door, she's gonna hand over the plan.
All right, yeah,
So,
all right.
Sorry,
Right.
that was sort of funny.
From the A's. All right, that brings us to approval of minutes. So, motion to approve minutes for February 26, 2026 and March 6, 2026. Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Byers? And any discussion? All right, can you call roll, please?
Mr. Audino,
Aye?
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And that brings us to special reports.
Okay, do have a number tonight. The first one is, I put TDA, but we actually have TDA and RFC Construction here to give an update on where we are with both Buckeye and kind of some updates with the other construction projects are there. So I'll turn it over to Ryan Schmidt first for his slides. So Ryan's going to speak regarding the Buckeye project as a whole. So.
Thank you. Evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to give you a brief update of where we are with the plans We've gone through a bunch of exercises to make sure that we streamline the plans that you've seen previously. There were a couple concepts that we had presented back in January now, I think it was, and we went through, we met with administration, some staff, talked through the merits of both of those, and arrived at what you'll be seeing as a two-story plan that I'll be presenting tonight. One of the big challenges was making sure that we get efficient use of space, because we're trying to make sure that we're using as little of that site as possible, and we're making efficient use of dollars and cents as we're putting this addition together. So this is the existing site, and the addition goes, oh, we're all good. The addition goes out in this location, so we're trying to maintain as much of this green area as possible, so that when we extend the drive-through here and we put the addition in, we maximize use of the site. So this is our current floor plan. And what you see here, this section all in through here is the existing building. This is all single story. This plan looks at how the addition would connect to that. This is a second floor over here that sits essentially over the top of this, and it starts to map out where some of the classrooms would be. Now these aren't 100% set in stone yet, but this is a really good indication of how we visualize the space being utilized. So I'll start with the main portion of the building. This, as part of the overall plan, is to receive a renovation. That's, looking at mechanicals, lighting, getting ceilings and finishes and roofing and that sort of thing in this section of the building. And that's to bring it up to a level of quality that will sustain you for years to come. In doing that, we're looking at some of these spaces and how we group classrooms, how we utilize the new classrooms, and how all this lays out. So one of the things we talked about was kindergartens and where they'd be most effective. One of the things you have with all of the building is that the classrooms are all essentially the same size. Kindergarten, you traditionally would like a slightly larger classroom with restrooms. So what we looked at and working with staff came to realize is that if we take and put kindergarten classrooms at these two locations, there is an existing space here that we could push our restrooms into and maximize that space again. So the classrooms stay as large as we can keep them, not having to do anything structural to the walls, but we get restrooms into those classrooms. Having kindergarten towards the core, towards administration is nice because you're close to administration, you're close to dining, you're close to the clinic, which is always important with little kids. So this really centralizes that. And then working off of that, we look at some of the younger grades. So you get first grade kind of in this wing, and then you move into second, third, and fourth in the new edition. This wing would still be your technology, music, and library media arts, so that stays over in this area, and then gymnasium and those features would end up over there. So the addition is you move into it, we're able to push the building up against the existing, maintain a path of fire egress there, have stairs at 2 locations, central area of classrooms on both floors. One of the really nice features is in this plan, we were able to locate a set of doors just off the elevator that creates a lobby space here. The lobby would have access to restrooms, gymnasium, and a meeting room space. So what this does is it allows you to section off this entire portion of the building and just maintain this portion for after hours and weekend activities, which is a really nice feature. This also does provide access into this space so you can see the stage and things of that nature. Moving back into this portion of the building, behind that are our 2 stairways that get you up to the second floor, up over here. So that's behind secure doors. So as you secure this, if there's a lockdown or anything of that nature, you're able to maintain this as a secured space back behind those doors. And then second floor is very similar to the first floor. You end up with classrooms up there, group restrooms up there, access to the elevator, and another small meeting room. So one of the really nice features I think that we were able to capture with these new plans is something that you don't see in some of the older schools, and that's the placement of these green rooms. Green rooms on this plan are specialist spaces. That's spaces you could go for intervention. There's small office spaces, small group rooms throughout the building, but this distributes those throughout the building to get spaces where students could interact with specialists and have small group throughout the building. And then if we could go to the next slide. This one shows a rendering of kind of what we're talking about on the outside. So really what we're trying to do is maintain a lot of the character of the existing building, the brick, some of the banding, the window heights, do those sorts of things. But then also look at this part and start to pull in some of the character that's been developed at a Riverview and some of your other schools where you have some of that materiality and kind of pull the whole thing together. So at the end of the day, really the vision is to create a campus that matches kind of the aesthetic that's starting to develop throughout the district. This isn't set in stone, this particular vision, but this is a concept that we're working on as we further develop the plans as we go. So,
Okay, going back to the
Sure.
gym, can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what, I'm too far away to see it. What is that going into the playground area?
This-
No,
this is
Yes.
stage. This is the stage.
that is the stage?
Yep.
Okay, and there's ramping for that and everything?
Yep.
All right, and then on the right side, outside, what is that?
This is a chiller yard for the mechanical system.
Oh, chilling.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So that's outdoor space. That's not
Okay.
part of the building itself.
And there's, like, I see the green spaces, and that's very important, because they've been on top of each other over there, but
Mhm.
based on what both schools need, that would be sufficient space for everybody. And then what did you decide about the stage and in the existing lunchroom?
So
What
that-
was today?
Yeah, that is something we're still exploring, kind of the
Okay.
options for
I
what
think
it
the
could be.
one thing we had talked about, even just putting windows to get some natural light in that cafeteria
Get light.
would be a big joint
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
for that.
There's, the good thing is it's space, so you have some luxury to kind of explore as the rest of this gets put together, as we really start finalizing exactly where people are going in this building, then you can look at that real estate and determine the best use of it, but there's a lot of potential for that particular.
But the step up would have to remain?
Not necessarily. There's a cost associated with it, but you should be able to remove that floor.
Just concrete all the way through?
There's concrete on top of, from what we can tell in drawings and such, there should be aggregate, dirt, gravel below it. So effectively, when they built these, most of the time back in the day, they would essentially build the perimeter walls, they build the front wall. We can't remove that. That is a load-bearing front wall. But then they would just backfill this with aggregate, they pour a slab over the top of it. And we actually removed one of these over in Mayfield a couple years ago, over at Center. So
When you
it's-
say the front wall, you mean the opening to the stage?
yeah, the proscenium at the front area of the stage, all of this has roof structure, roof steel that's coming across here. When it gets to here, this wall becomes a bearing wall as part of the roof structure. Not sure why they did it that way, but that's how they handled it.
Generally, with a new school, you would have a gymnasium near the cafeteria, and obviously we can't do that here.
Mhm.
How would you host concessions for an event that happens in the gym? Is there room in that lobby for something like that?
We
Set up
could,
tables?
we could, yeah, I mean, this is a fairly large space right here, so if you put a table and you had a backdrop there, you would have space that you could do something.
Riverview and
like that.
Parkside have built-in concessions, are they used often?
I don't think so.
No.
I think they're used for storage. I would say that, I think that's one of the things we built in and don't utilize at all.
More and more, that was kind of a wish list for everybody 10, 15 years ago. Everybody viewed it as something the boosters would, it's set up. It's separating materials becomes difficult. People need to keep, for each of the booster groups, it tends to be a little more difficult to kind of separate all those materials. So everybody likes to hold on to their own stuff, and so those rooms don't get utilized in quite the way people envision it.
Is this green, I'm colorblind, this is a green?
That's a green
Okay.
space, yes.
This green space and the one on the other corner, the southwest, can you walk us through what those are again?
Yeah, so this presently is staff space, so we were removing some staff spaces, these were staff spaces previously. These become small group rooms, this becomes a staff space. So that's for copiers and those sorts of things, lounge space, but it's right next to administration, so they could have meetings and stuff like that. This one was small groups, so we were breaking that up into small group rooms. We're still talking through kind of the nitty gritty of those.
So
The
these are
big,
just repurposed classrooms?
yes, they are, yep.
So, classes in that new addition would be able to go to the playground where
Yep.
that one green box is
Yep,
right there?
right there, yep.
Yeah.
And we would have doors off the gym. I'm not showing one over here yet, but there would be doors over on this side that would get you out to the north field space as well,
Oh, okay.
so, yep.
Right, and as far as the interior space, which is the existing playground,
Mhm.
and I know, depending on where that goes, with the fencing of the construction area, we're gonna lose some of that space, so is there a plan to move some things?
The goal would be to be very similar to what we talked about in previous iterations.
Okay.
So we would maintain as much of that
It's
existing
actually
site
a
as
smaller
possible.
footprint.
It actually did compress, yeah.
Right.
that second floor helped that quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah, because with that stage being at where it is now, I think that will totally, I think it might take away the entire basketball court, but that wasn't in good shape anyway, so.
Yeah, but this whole thing, this whole thing was this way about another 30, 40 feet,
Yeah,
and we were able to
exactly. So
condense
it
everything
moved
quite a
it
bit.
in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Roger, before we go on a tour, any updates on, I know we were talking about
Yeah,
financing, that sort of thing on the CTE project, so we're going to get CTE.
Yep, so based on the drawings that Ryan just shared with you, we went back and we updated, going to a 2-story, there was some added cost, obviously, we updated our, and this is just a schematic estimate, and we're at 14.6 with the addition and the renovation. Ryan and I have been talking, we'd like to talk to his mechanical engineers, there's some room for us to create some value engineering, some savings, would like to entertain that. To tighten that budget a little bit, we don't want it to be too close to the 15 million, that's something we would be working with them throughout from the schematic design up to the design development phase. And then we would have another estimate at the design development phase that we would share back, with you. The goal still for the project would be to break ground this summer, work throughout, the rest of the year and into next year on the addition, and then work in the existing this summer and next summer throughout some of the holidays to have it all completed in August of 2027. The addition itself will probably be completed a little bit sooner than that. We probably will have some work to do on the addition still next spring and summer on the outside, obviously. But the goal would be to have the entire project addition and existing renovation completed by August of 2027.
And having that addition done early during the school year allows them to get to the building, because we can section the building off, even move classrooms into the addition, to kind of continue with the class, and then they can get back to other sections. So we can kind of shift some things and pivot. One thing we're really good at in this district is pivoting. So we can shift around and make that happen, so we can make sure we get that 2027 date and hit it.
And one of the earlier renderings, and I didn't catch it on the previous slide, is the mechanical room on the second floor still on this?
We are showing that, yes, presently.
And I know that's the case at Riverview and Parkside, correct?
Mhm.
Is there a benefit to having it on the second floor?
The benefit in this case is that we're using the first floor for storage for the gymnasium, and we're using it for outdoor storage and workroom space, so, yeah.
There's no disadvantage to that kind of weight being on the second floor?
No, the units don't weigh that much. They're rooftop units essentially that
Yeah.
we're bringing inside, so there's not a big problem with that,
So
so.
where's the storage for the gym?
So, right here. So it'd be right off that main gym space on the first floor. This footprint just gets absorbed into a mechanical room.
So we didn't end up having it in the gym, it's outside of the
It's,
gym?
it's the gym space, it's doors from the
Oh,
gym
so
directly
like
into it,
the
yeah, yep,
access,
yep.
okay.
You don't have to go anywhere to get to
Right,
it.
and the front elevation, the entrance as you walk in, are there changes to that?
It's the,
Like if
that
you
last
have
view was a
windows?
generic view of it, yeah. I mean, the windows and everything, so far, we're keeping very similar to what we
Yeah.
had previously. We're just looking, it's a 2-story space now, so we're essentially lifting the
I'm
roof.
sorry,
and
you're
adjusting.
asking about the existing entrance though, right?
The existing
Not the
entrance.
new
We
one.
don't have anything on the existing entrance that
Because
we're.
originally, there was gonna be some change, but I don't know, because you
We're-
talked about, the wall that is the back of the stage, adding some light that would,
So we talked,
Yeah.
so I mentioned that just earlier, putting windows into the cafeteria,
Yeah.
to have some natural light in there. Those are, as they get to the redesign, those are some of the asks that we have that, almost a storefront a little bit. So that will make the front of the building look different,
right,
because it'll have windows that kind of face out. But I think getting natural light into that space is a good thing.
Mhm.
okay. And the existing clinic, it's okay, like, I know, I've heard different things about it being small, but then they were using another space too, and I don't know if that's rectified.
That doesn't, I think as these plans develop,
Yeah.
that comes up.
Okay,
Yep.
I just
So
wanted to mention.
those are all considerations.
Because you're adding student population and they're gonna need room.
Those will all come out of it.
So some of these items though, Chris, to be clear, like the windows in the front and adding lights and all that, these are all gonna be alternates.
Sure, yeah,
So
absolutely.
to the design, And then depending where the numbers end up, then you can make the decision if that's something that you do. Or there's a few items that we've discussed with Rich as well that are gonna be alternates in the plans, and then we'll bid them as such. And then when the final GMP comes in, then you can make some decisions on these alternates.
Yeah. It's always good to have wants in the project, and then when you see the value of it, you decide if the want is worth the wait, so.
Where are we with the south end of the building where the buses come into the curve? Any?
We are working on design for that. We don't have an update on that presently. But the goal will be that bus loop drop off. That's just still in progress, so. Any other questions?
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take the trail on the road a little bit because we are in CTE, or CTX, I'm sorry. CTX. Actually, so we initially called it CTE, but that's often confused with programming that's done in like vocational centers. So we call this CTX, the X standing for experience. So we are definitely providing experiences. This is the common space classroom. So when we designed this, the vision is this is a classroom that is connected purposely through double doors to both the larger lab area and also the makerspace, which we will go see in a second. As you can see, both view boards are connected wirelessly to each other. They also work independently, so we can kind of shift up things like that. The furniture is mostly these tall tables that do roll and shift around. We do have other options, but really kind of having that. You can write on the tall tables too. They are dry erase markers, so when you're really ideating, you can kind of do that on these tables, working to kind of start a project out from that. In our current schedule, it does provide opportunities for that with the block and the longer periods of time and extensions of time that gets there. It's in terms of standard classroom storage cabinets for each of the areas that we plan to have here. The tall cabinets are for Mr. Byers and other really tall people to reach up there. They're not Dr. Thompson cabinets, for sure. But long-term storage is the plan for up there. And then obviously supplies are in there, as this will be rotated through different classes and different. We will not have one single teacher house here. We'll have rotating teachers down here throughout. So this is kind of the start to the space. We will go into the construction lab or the lab space next. So if you want to kind of follow me out here. So this is a current in progress classroom. We provided it to them. They're already doing it. So quite possibly the greatest part about this space is the window of the view. It really kind of opens it up and shows off the space along the way. Also, love the striping in here. Really bringing that Riverside thing really turned out well. All of the furniture that you see came in pieces and was actually installed and put together by our construction class. So we got it in. We said, "Hey guys, go to work," and they've done that throughout. They picked out a lot of these tools to do as well, and now they are currently constructing. So they are teaching them how to mud and tape. They built the wall from the platform. They actually built the platform, then they built the wall. Now they put the drywall up. Now they're mudding and taping, and they do a better job than I do. So that's really impressive along the way. But these are some of the skills they have as they continue to get this space and some of the other supplies that come in. They're going to learn some basic plumbing, some basic electricity work, all kind of really essential life skills, whether you're going into construction or not. It's really important to know how to change a circuit breaker and how to electrocute yourself. So that's a good skill. So something that we're really working to develop in here. Also, this is where we're partnering with Auburn to try to offer a senior-only actual CTE experience in the morning in here as well for next year. So we'll have an Auburn teacher kind of come through a partnership to offer some additional certifications for our students and job pathways along the way for those who, I really didn't know what I want to do now here. The construction is probably the best one to offer because that gives them access to a number of different trades. We'll expose them to carpentry, we'll expose them to electricity, HVAC, as well as plumbing, and they can go from there and kind of choose that and join the trades that way, but they'll get experience from all of it along the way. Another thing we are doing in here, which have evolved after we kind of really saw the space, and once you see how big this space is, we have the garage where we're going to make supplies in, but also we are going to move the plasma cutter from the welding lab into here. And the reason why is that is going to save us, I want to say it's $2,000 to $3,000 annually for supplies. We have to get our supplies specifically cut down. We can get them full normal stock length and cut them ourselves in this space, and then bring them into the welding lab, actually inside. They can cut them in here and move them in here. So it's been a partnership with our welding teacher as well as our construction teacher to kind of say, hey, this works out well for all of us. So that's this space as it is. Butcher block tables kind of fit that idea of construction along the way, as long as butcher block storage. We kind of put some stuff in, but left some dollars to kind of say, hey, you're using this, what else do you need? So there's going to be storage that goes on the wall to store the pallet of 2x4s that we have over there. We're not planning to keep a pallet of 2x4s there. To be honest, we just don't know where the best place to put them are. So we're going to use it, live in it for a little bit, and then say, okay, this wall is probably the best to go there. So that's kind of what we're thinking along the way with this space. So now we'll go back through the classroom to the actual maker space. Yeah. Little flag, like it's too early.
These chairs are great.
So this is the start. This is our design lab, and this is where our manufacturing, as well as ultimately we like to have this kind of opened up as well to our community to do that. We have 4 of these, I think we have 4 or 5 of these large combo machines. They are 3D printers, laser engravers, and CNC machines kind of all in one. They do get vented out. We will have computers that they kind of base off of as well. So a student designing something, whether they want to print it, whether they want to take from it, whether it's all of those sorts of things, they have the opportunity to then make that work through here, through those machines. Over here is a robotic arm that will eventually get put together as soon as we get robotic arm certified. Specifically, it's a FANUC arm, so there's a FANUC certification that goes with that as well. And we do have a welding simulator as well to actually cut down on some of the costs for even our welding program, provide experiences to welding for our younger students so they can kind of see what it is without the danger of welding, but also welding's expensive. It's a very expensive program for consumables. They can practice on the simulator and not necessarily have to burn through the consumables until they get to the real thing. So you can practice a little bit beforehand and then get to weld as well. We do have some tables set up for the middle of this space once we get everything kind of installed along the way. There is going to be some venting here. Also, one of the things that we initially had planned, and as we started to really think about it, we do offer our medical sciences program in here as well. So we were going to have what's called an autopsy table. It's a large, basically it's a large flat screen TV that's got a body on it that you kind of touch. We pivoted off of that. And we did that because that was a very expensive purchase. And what we found was we're going to purchase a number of VR headsets. And the actual, the autopsy through that, the autopsy table has a bunch of students gathered on one table. With the VR headsets, the students can put the VR headset on and they can actually work with a partner and they can go through and pick out and have the same experience, if not better, through a VR headset. The other thing, through VR, we can offer more opportunities. The company we are partnering with, Dr. Thompson introduced us to them, they are it's called Roundtable Learning, and they are working to do, they do corporate training right now. So we went to go out to their company and visited with them, and they were showing us the programs they have, and how do we do this, and what kind of, and so Amazon uses them. So companies like Amazon and Walmart and others use them for their training. So if they're going to use them for their training, our students are going to train on them, and we're trying to work with them to kind of have those and provide those opportunities. Amazon does a simulated warehouse with them where they go in, they put the headset on, they pick out certain things, and kind of use the exact equipment that they have on Amazon. It is really kind of crazy. Walmart's got a program where in the Walmart warehouse, or the Walmart Samfield warehouse, one of the jobs they have for their maintenance techs is the high area, the maintenance tech who works up in the ceiling gets paid a lot more than the ones who work on the ground. Well, everybody wants that at first, but what they found is people sign up for that and they hire them for that, and that first climb they make, they get stuck and have to rescue them off the pole. So this company came in, there's a VR simulator where they put on the headset and they climb up, and can you feel it? And when you put it on and start climbing and you don't leave the floor, you feel like you're up 50 feet in the air. It's really kind of a neat experience to do. So we are trying to provide a second VR experience for our career electives as well for our students, because that's the way of the future of training. We know that it is, so to provide that opportunity is another one that they offer. They work with a train company. So we offer a transportation class. Well, this is a class where they took the entire locomotive operating, and you get in and you drive a locomotive. I've never actually driven a locomotive, so we got to drive a locomotive. It is really a neat thing as you're working through the experience, and it's pretty lifelike as to how you start it, stop it, and fix it, some diesel mechanics with it. So the opportunities to offer more and more classes this way through technology with our students are great. In the classroom, you can actually then put the software up of what a student is viewing. You can put it up on a screen so everyone can see what that student is seeing. So it actually will transmit up into either the one television, or a teacher is going to have a full, kind of mini screen with all the different things on there. So that's where the other part of this classroom is going. So it's going to have that as well. So any questions about this room?
I like the space-saving chair storage. That's great.
This is all about multifunctionality and how we can use it. I'll show you the great example. When we built this space, we thought purposely about location and kind of how else can we use it other than just an educational space. And that's where this next kind of part comes in. So we can head over this way. Somebody just left. So one of the things that really personally about our building, that's kind of my pet peeve, is we offer great programming after school in our auditorium and in our cafeteria. And we invite the whole community, but for our community to access it, they have to walk a long way to kind of come down the main hallway. So accessibility for our disabled or our elderly is a challenge in this building. So we designed this space purposely to be the night entrance for high school activities. So if you look out these double doors, it goes straight to the parking lot. When we redo the parking lot this summer, we're going to designate some handicap spaces right side of these doors. It comes right into here. These doors go directly to our cafeteria. So they go directly to our existing cafeteria space, which our play is going on right now. So they go right to that, and that accesses directly into the auditorium. This goes right into the commons here, so we offer a lot of events in the commons, so it's a direct pathway into the commons as well. So it provides really short access and great access for all of our nighttime programming that happens in the auditorium. We can also then close off parts of the school to kind of keep people isolated more into this area, so we know we're there, and then walking through classrooms as well, it gives us a better overall look. So that's one of the things we have. Single-use restrooms on both sides here as well that will be open to students and staff throughout the day. But that's kind of when we thought about this in terms of purposeful, this is where we thought of it. The other part is this will be the home of our revised and revamped Alumni Hall of Fame. So I worked with the Alumni Association. They donated a video view board. We're going to put it on the wall that's right behind Ryan there. It's going to kind of come out. It's going to be a video display similar to the Veterans Kiosk. We were working with some designers to look at wrapping the wall so it has a whole theme to it. But it'll be a new kind of modernized Hall of Fame where you can look up people. I'll tell you more about the people who are in the Alumni Hall of Fame, and not just a plaque on the wall. So we're working with all of our students to make that work as well. So that's the end of the tour. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Me too, that's all I said.
Yeah, good to go, thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Thanks,
Rob.
guys. Appreciate it. All
Are
right.
we done with special reports?
I got one more, and
One
that's
more. Oh, yes.
really annual kind of presentation, but this is especially, Ms. Gifford came back from Washington DC where she did, she worked with some nutrition services directors of the federal program. And so she does have to provide an annual federal programming or nutrition services update. So we kind of partnered that with her, what she did in terms of in DC to kind of work with that programming as well and kind of how that went. So turn it over to her.
And I will still try to keep it under 10 minutes.
And there she was right at the time. So.
And so this year, our department has had 3 state reviews. They changed this about 5 years ago that they do them all in the same year, which is great fun. We get an administrative review, which focuses on our entire program, which includes our benefit issuance of free and reduced price meals, our finances, health department inspections, everything. Then I also have a resource management review, which focuses solely on financial data from the previous year, really focusing on a la carte sales, making sure that we're not using federal funds to supplement the sale of a la carte items. And then our procurement review, which is the most painful, which focuses on purchases made in the prior year, making sure that we follow all federal guidelines, get enough quotes, things that went out to bid were bid on properly, etc. So in the administrative review, our ODEW specialist actually comes here. She reviewed Riverview and McKinley elementary schools for breakfast and lunch. They usually choose the buildings that have the highest free and reduced price meal percentage. However, our building in our district is Melridge, and they were just reviewed 5 years ago. So they picked the next one, which was Riverview. She observed each building for a full breakfast and lunch service. At Riverview, she actually stayed all day and watched them do prep as well. She reviewed menus and documentation for a week in October that she picked. That included all the nutrient analysis, all of our menu offerings, making sure that we were compliant with breakfast and lunch offerings. She reviewed about 450 free and reduced price meal applications. We had to print the ones that were online, and then some of them were paper, but the majority of our applications are online at this point. So my assistant had to print all of those and organize them for her. She reviewed all of our standard operating procedures, trainings, operation of our 006 fund. The trainings also included, our department has to, we have a CEU regulation, right? So I have to have 15 hours of continuing education training every year. Managers have to have 10 hours. Most other part-time people have to have 6 hours, and then staff under 4 hours have to have 4 hours. So she checked to make sure that, you know, they all had all of their hours. And we were close, but we also weren't done with the year, so we got a little grace period. And then we were required to submit a spend down plan for approval. We are only allowed to have 3 months operating expenses in our 006 fund. We have had way more than that over the last several years. And I have been spending down, but I'm also getting revenue, so there hasn't really been any huge purchases. So this year in our spend down plan, we included providing free breakfast at all elementary buildings, which I plan on doing again next year. It'd be great if I could do it forever, because the year that I stop is going to be really painful. And purchase new equipment for several kitchens. We had a walk-in freezer cooler combo for the high school. We had to move our walk-in freezer due to this addition. So I said, well, if we're gonna move it, we'll just buy a new one, which has been really nice. New cafeteria furniture for Lamouth Middle School, and I bought a new griddle and a 2-burner stove for Riverside High School. This is just a breakdown to show the free breakfast benefit. I guess our participation increased. You can see last year, every elementary school, total number of breakfasts served, and then I broke it down by free, reduced price, and paid. And this year, you know, Riverview, already through February, has served 20,432 breakfast meals. That's insane. And so everyone has increased their participation significantly. Parkside has increased the most because they served the fewest in years past. So they went up almost 60%. And then this beginning of the week, I did attend the School Nutrition Association Legislative Action Conference in Washington, D.C. We had a lot of training. We discussed the new dietary guidelines for Americans. We lobbied with our congressmen and congresswomen for additional funding for school nutrition so we can be compliant with any new rules or guidelines that are enacted. And we shared the School Nutrition Association position paper with leaders in Washington. And so the position paper had 3 points. We always ask for universal free meals so that no child goes hungry during a school day. We'll be asking till the end of time, but every year they ask. We ask for an increase in funding to accommodate any changes made to regulations. We ask for feasible updates to school nutrition guidelines, and then we explained how the $4.70 that we get for every free meal is broken down. They don't really understand, you know, that $4.70 that we get covers our staffing, their benefits, equipment repairs, new equipment, and food. So just explaining to them how we stretch that to make it work. I think for some of them was eye-opening. This is Secretary Kennedy's new dietary guidelines for Americans. So that was a huge thing that we talked about. Again, not sure everyone knows this, but the USDA bases school nutrition standards on the dietary guidelines. How am I doing? On the dietary guidelines for Americans. So some of the things that have been changed, they're not bad things. I'm excited to see some of these happen. Unfortunately, we don't have funding for them. So adding more protein at breakfast, reducing sugars, which we've already done over the last 2 years, and saturated fats further than they already are, those will put a huge strain on our resources if we receive no additional funding. They would like us to do more scratch cooking with real food, real ingredients. Some of that would require updated equipment. You know, our ovens currently are not equipped to cook from raw. I mean, they can, they're not big enough. You know, we are primarily heat and serve kitchens. And then manufacturers, it's a huge issue for them. They need time to reformulate their products to meet any new guidelines. We can't buy them if they don't make them compliant. So one of the things that we're focusing on is ultra-processed foods, and the government has not defined what that is. So states are starting to define it. So New York has a definition, and California has a definition, Maine has a definition. Where you take a company like Smucker's, they can't make Uncrustables for every state. So we really need some sort of federal guidance to tell us what the expectation is. So while I was there, we were educated on the new dietary guidelines and Making America Healthy Again. I networked with school nutrition professionals from all over the country. We had every state recognized in the room, which was pretty awesome. Represented our district and the state of Ohio and advocated for our students. It was a really cool experience. I've never been to DC, so to be able to go and lobby was really an awesome experience. And then just to wrap it up, some noteworthy items for the year. We had 0 fiscal penalties on our administrative review. We had a couple of corrective actions that we took care of. I am finalizing the resource management and procurement reviews. We had a significant increase in breakfast participation in the elementary buildings. And through February, we have served 204,533 lunch meals and 102,235 breakfast meals, including Fairport Harbor. And we are, once again, on target to finish the year in the black with a positive balance. And that's it.
So, all the free breakfast that you're doing this year because of your spend down?
Yep.
We still get to ask for reimbursement for the ones for people who are eligible, correct, or not anymore?
So we get reimbursement for all of them. We get reimbursement based on their eligibility. So even the paid breakfasts that we are giving away, we get 29 cents a piece
Well,
for them.
right.
So it doesn't change our reimbursement. I'm just not getting the cash in hand. So we're basically covering the difference.
And with Fairport's new building, are they planning on staying with us for service or taking that over?
So I believe so. They've had a lot of changes. Their business manager resigned in January, and now their superintendent has resigned effective July 31st. So the plan was always, you know, it's not fiscally responsible for them to start a food service program from the ground up. It's really expensive. So I imagine we will stay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the thorough presentation, and please share with your team. It's really impressive to see this many numbers just in breakfast alone. I know that's probably not an easy feat. Question specific to the Eat Real Food. When you say additional funding, is that something that you would be waiting for HHS to offer, or is it something that would be here at this table? Where would that additional
So
funding
it comes from the federal government. So the USDA is actually where we get our funding from, but the HHS has to, you know, like, so it's a trickle down, right? They make the dietary guidelines, USDA says, okay, now we have to make these for schools. Now we're gonna need a little more money, you know, to fund these changes. So they go to the federal government to get it.
So the nutritional standards, Eat Real Food as it's being called, I see. Is there a deadline to reach those goals?
We don't know.
No?
We don't really know much of anything. So part of what we were talking to the congressmen and women about was, you know, we can't do this in 90 days.
Sure.
You know, we don't have a quick turnaround for large changes, like you're reducing sodium and sugar in items that they haven't even started formulation on. You know, that's gonna take some time.
My question is, because I'd be concerned if there was a deadline that they gave you, say 2027, but there's no funding tied to it.
No, right now, the 2027 deadline we have is just for reduced sugar, and that's already been on the table, so we've been anticipating that. Yeah.
Thank you.
We did just receive a DEOLA policy regarding food service directly, and it just came the other day, and it's dealing with some type of like fake proteins or protein modifications. I'll send it to you obviously as well to look at it, but there are some of those are making it into.
It is fake meat.
Yeah, it's fake meat, yeah, it's a fake meat
Yeah.
They make rid of it.
policy.
That's 3D printed meat.
Interesting, yeah, so they want us to serve, which is great. I mean, I would love to serve chicken breast right from the farm, but it's a lot of money.
So DEOLA is a recommendation that we will share with the policy committee as well, after we run it through, you know.
Yeah.
Can we
Anything
get
else?
that chicken, can we get that chicken directly from the farm for central office?
That would be great.
Could we
What
do
time does
that?
your CF get in the morning when they have to serve that with breakfast?
The high school,
Raise
they
buck,
start at
get yours,
5:15.
kill yours.
And the elementary start at 7, so they start at 7 and breakfast starts, they start serving latchkey around 8:45. And then everyone who gets off the bus at 9.
And what time does the high school start?
High school, the staff starts at 5:15, the manager does, and she starts prepping because the first breakfast line comes through about 6:45.
Kudos to them.
And they're early risers, they're in bed by like 7 p.m.
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes my reports, thank you.
All right, then that brings us to unfinished business. So we had a request to get an update on the status of LLB. We do not have the email list yet, unless something has changed in the last couple days. Nobody's received it? All right,
No.
so that is the status? Yeah. All right.
That's fine.
There was a couple other things presented, but I believe they've been taken care of in, so finances and cost containment we talked about during the working session, and Buckeye pricing came up in special reports. So those two things I hope we're good with, or any other discussion on them?
None on those. The finance and cost containment we talked about, but the vouchers is another place to
Yep,
talk about
the
that later.
vouchers are on the board business, so where there is opportunity for discussion at that time. Okay? So that brings us to new business. So we had pulling out an agenda item to vote separately. Ms. Brewster?
I just wanted clarification for the whole board, because we have some new members, but, and I just wanted to be clear, now that we're voting on the agenda at the beginning of a meeting, it doesn't, in other words, any board member without a vote can take out an item.
On the consent agenda.
On the consent
I believe you can
agenda
have
to vote on
advocate-
separately.
And I believe you can pull that out at any time.
Right, it doesn't have to be done at the
Yeah.
beginning.
It doesn't have to be done at the beginning.
No.
Okay,
Is that
I just
correct?
wanted clarification,
Yeah.
so we're all on the same page.
I don't know that the public's aware that we moved to approving the agenda.
Yes.
We did add that from the board
Right.
retreat because they were, yes.
Yeah,
We do-
so as part of our work session, or board retreat that we did on last Friday, one of the adjustments we made to the agenda is that up at the front of the agenda, we are now voting to approve what is on the agenda, meaning nothing could be added during the meeting and nothing can be removed. But as Ms. Brewster said, we can pull something out of consent agenda to be voted on separately. So, just to make everyone aware, it's a change.
And instead of old business, we're saying unfinished
Unfinished.
business.
So that brings us to new business. So we're still on new business, sorry. Ms. Brewster also had an item of transparency.
Okay, just that, I think that we're moving through that process, you know, by having these financial discussions. Things are changing rapidly at the state level, just being on the legislative, you know, report, and talking with Dr. Rotino. I mean, every day you find out, well, no, now this doesn't look like it's gonna go, well, this could be a major concern for us. So when I give my report, you know, you'll see what I'm talking about. But also when we're in committees, I know like in the Finance Personnel Committee, we kind of do agenda review, and, you know, we're going through certain things, and I thought we covered it all, but there were two things that weren't mentioned. So I just want to make sure that we're hearing it, because I don't want to read it when the agenda's published. I want to know, you know, in that particular forum. That's why we have a committee to talk about what's going to be on the agenda, and we understand.
So I believe the items that you're referring to, they were discussed like in an executive session, saying we were going to add it, and also during the previous regular meeting. So they were discussed at a time, so I'm not sure why they didn't
I
come
think it
up.
was.
Well,
agenda
no, I
review.
think too, typically in the finance, we talk about big things to vote on under the finance section. The agenda review and the agenda build, when we traditionally have the finance meetings, is a week before. We don't build the agenda until, usually it's 2 days, the Monday, it's the week of the agenda going out. So we're kind of continuing to finalize what's on there. So that's not, and this was the anomaly, to be completely honest, but this is, you know, myself, Dr. Thompson, and Mr. Krenisky sitting me to really build the agenda now. We're making that another great, it's a best practice. So we review the agenda kind of all the way through and make sure that it's there. So in the finance committee, that agenda is some of the, like the larger ticket items that we know are going to be on to ask, so that, you know, we don't want, you know, well, why is this high dollar amount, or why is this, you know, kind of funding thing on there. So that's the reason for that. All of the personnel and all that, they're not usually finalized till,
Right.
if we're meeting at 8:30, 8:29. You know, because we're trying to get as many as we can on to not have any additions to the end. Or we would say at 8:30, hey, we're waiting on, because you're waiting on background checks, and like we're waiting on something to add it to it. So there are times when we wait up till we use our 48 hours to make sure that they're there. We don't want any surprises, so we'll talk with Mr. Krenisky about, hey, we're waiting on what's coming, but that's part of the agenda reviews, we build it
All
out.
right, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best practices is, again, that we've just made that motion that we have to approve the agenda, and nothing can be added at the board table either, right? So
Absolutely.
everything will be on that agenda 48 hours beforehand, and there'll be no surprises, so.
Sounds good.
Next piece of new business, kind of lumps together, there's two of them. So board open office hours and special committees, Ms. Grassi had brought up. So the board open office hours, I had a chance to briefly chat with Mr. McIntyre, just kind of getting some of the legal concerns that we have with that. I'm not throwing you on the spot, but can you kind of give us some of those legal concerns that come with that?
Sure. So we started talking about this, I believe it was at our January board meeting, and I had a chance to just briefly address it with the board at that time. Really, the concerns are twofold. And they're logistical concerns that kind of bleed into potential legal concerns. So I certainly love this idea of board members connecting directly with community members, parents, perhaps even staff members who want to ask a question or raise a concern or just share a perspective. The difficulty becomes that if you feel as a board member an obligation to respond to a question or to a concern, you have to ask yourself, are you responding to that question or concern as an individual board member or on behalf of the whole board? If you're responding to it on behalf of the whole board, then really it needed to have been discussed with the whole board and then the board to take a position on it, hopefully a unanimous one, but if not, at least a consensus one. That's probably not often going to be the case in these situations. In other words, you may be hearing things for the first time and then called upon to provide some kind of response that hasn't really been shared with your fellow board members and acted on, through the deliberation and voting process, even if necessary. So you might say, well, I'll identify myself as an individual board member, and then I'm not speaking on behalf of the whole board in my response or in my answer to a question. And that would be a very good step to take, but I'm just not sure that that would fully cover the interests here. The reason being is that I think, as you probably all know, to one extent or another, when you speak on something, many people will, no matter what disclaimer you provide, will conclude that you are speaking for the whole board. And then there's an added concern, whereas if one board member is being able to speak on something before other board members have had a chance to even hear about it, then maybe those other board members who haven't had a chance to hear about it are going to feel restricted or limited in the options available to them based on the board member who did hear it and did respond already. So there's that. So that's sort of one set of concerns. The other set of concerns is that I feel very strongly, and this is embedded in your board policy on multiple occasions, that people that have concerns about specific things really ought to address those with the individuals to which or to whom they pertain. So, for example, in our public complaint board policy, which I think is 9130, we have a structured system. When somebody has a complaint, if it involves an instructional or a teacher-related issue, you go to the teacher first and you try to address it and solve it and talk about it. And then if you're unsuccessful, then you can kind of ratchet it up through the organization, ultimately all the way to the board. But there are multiple opportunities for the district to address those concerns, and they really start with the people who are dealing with the issue, sort of boots on the ground, front lines kind of way. A related issue to that is that I firmly believe that even if this isn't an issue that would involve a teacher or another staff member or even a principal, that somebody would want to go to our superintendent or our treasurer and have that conversation with them. Not instead of having a conversation with the board, but also. And so I just think it's critical to an organization's success that your CEO and your CFO are able to field those concerns, address many of them successfully, and if not, perhaps have to take it to the board, or at least brief the board on what has been done, so that when the problem or when the issue comes to the board, that the board's fully apprised of the situation and can discuss it from an informed state of mind. So those are logistical issues that kind of bleed into legal issues. And I want to emphasize that while it may not sound like it, I really believe that it makes sense to connect with your community and to be there and to have those kinds of exchanges. But that particular approach has some issues associated with it. Happy to answer any questions.
How is it any different than being out in the community and hearing those things anyway? Somebody comes up, you're at a basketball game, they're gonna come and they're gonna say it there, they're gonna say it here. Like, I'm just asking, what is the difference? That my fellow board members won't be apprised of that conversation either.
No, I think it's a very good question. The difference for me is that when it is sort of the extension of the board's will to create these opportunities, it's as if the board is putting their stamp of approval on it and in fact creating a formal process for allowing someone to come forward. And I think with it comes a lot of those expectations that I mentioned that people will have with regard to how board members respond to a concern or a question. To me, that's very different than, running into you at the, neighborhood block party or the Giant Eagle and bending your ear about a particular concern they have. But you're right, because there is some overlap, and you should be giving that disclaimer if you are responding at the neighborhood block party to a particular question or concern, that you are just one board member and that it is the will of the full board that really dictates your decision-making.
Any other questions on that topic? So why I said it kind of lumps together with the idea of the committees, because that's another option, right? If we want to form special committees, maybe one to meet with the staff, I don't know what that looks like. We started to talk about it last year, but it didn't go too far. We can definitely do that. We can do a special committee for staff, a special committee for the community. Students is a little bit of a challenge. There's some concerns about the students and if there's filming and like those kind of ideas, so we just have to be careful there. But that is an option for us too. So that was one of the other ideas that had come up.
And I think when we had discussed it previously, it needs to be a committee that meets regularly. It was something that, okay, well, maybe this one meets once every quarter and this one meets once every quarter, whatever it may be. I think we had said that was important to get some perspective from individuals that was not always through intermediary and that was direct. Sometimes people are more willing to say things. I don't know, I thought maybe that it would be beneficial.
Yeah, no, I do see it being beneficial. I guess my question is, how do the two differ? I mean, it sounds like your concerns would apply to both scenarios, if I heard you correctly.
They do, but it would be incumbent on the board to define its expectations for the committee in those situations. It would be I think a situation where likely it would be an open public meeting because it's a board committee, and there would be minutes, and there would be an agenda, there would be more structure to it. And so I think in that way, it's a little more manageable. But you're right. There
I mean, we
are
really did just
overlap
put all
points.
the committee definitions and their purposes and what they're supposed to do. We put that into the board handbook. It would just be a matter of maybe exploring what that would look like and investigating and writing up description and passing that through legal to figure out what that might look like. I recognize and realize that it probably isn't gonna get done in a week. It's not gonna happen instantaneously, that process would probably take some thought that goes into how that would look, but I think it's useful.
And I know we're working through the strategic plan, we're talking about future funding, we're gonna have groups for that. And some are formed, but is it like a superintendent's, like when you did the focus groups?
So we do have focus groups set up with the strategic plan where we have staff, specifically staff focus groups set up. We have, we called for open community meetings, and then we do have some targeted community meetings where we're asking some specific community members to participate in those as well. So we do have some sessions set up for that, and they're guided around specific questions.
And maybe it would be interesting if during those focus groups, we could get some input on what kind of communication from the different groups would you like to see? And what kind of touch points would you like to have with administrators or with board members or whatever, and see what it is that those groups actually have to say about that, and maybe we could start from there.
I think I'll be honest, our challenge with our current open community groups is getting people to sign up. And to kind of come and give, and I think we were on the front page of the News Herald at one point, thanks Bryson, for our use of, way we're certain community input and still don't have, we have some, but not necessarily representative of input that I think we would like. Maybe the dates are bad, we could add another date.
Well, but when you talk about staff and students, we're already doing that, and we don't need them to sign up for, they're already doing it, so.
It is our open community that we are.
And maybe those are the folks that we would like to start with.
We took tonight as an opportunity for even at our senior dinner to ask our seniors who attended to give us their name and email, and then we will send them directly the link to the survey. That's a part of it to get their feedback as well, assuming they're residents of the district.
But what if these were led by, let's say hypothetically, Ms. Grassi and I attended, we were scheduled to attend that listening session with whomever the audience would be, but it was led by the administration and we weren't there to respond. Granted, the last time this happened, Mount Vesuvius erupted, but aside from that, if this was actually sanctioned by the board as a policy to move forward, and they were the ones who were responding, I don't know if there's a temperature for that.
So my understanding to that, and maybe, is I can form a superintendent's committee at any time when we can't have board member participation. I don't know what the limit of numbers to that is, but I think, and that does not fall under the Public Meetings Act. So that could be a specific group of stakeholders and key communicators.
Yeah, I think it's one, because once you have two, it's a committee, right? Once you have three, it's a board meeting. So.
I know that. 3's a quorum, so 3's out. 3's not allowed, but it's 1 or 2 is that gray area.
So, I mean, to be safe, I would recommend that it would just be one board member at a superintendent's committee. But you're right to say that many districts would have up to 2. I'm just not as comfortable with that, especially if it's a board endorsed approach. Then it's getting very close to being a board committee. If it's a board endorsed superintendent's committee.
Yeah, just form a special committee at that point, right?
I would think, yes.
So, Ms. Grassi had asked, can we just collect some feedback, kind of wondering, get the temperature? Is there any way to somehow work that into part of what?
We can try.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
And
definitely work out.
And see what it is that they are thinking that could look like from their perspective.
Or even from the administration, if you're meeting with them, see what their appetite is too, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, you, there are no, you don't know, you're unaware of any other districts that have a committee like what we're talking about and that we could use as a template?
I have to get that one some thought. Nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
I think at one point Concord Township had office hours with their trustees before trustee meetings, and I'd love to know how they did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, how did they structure that? I don't know, because I'm assuming that they probably have the same issue. They're a public body, so.
I thought Andy Rose has some kind of coffee thing, and I don't know if he relays it to the trustees.
I don't know, before meetings, they
thought
would
it was
have, they
trustees?
would actually have open office
Okay.
hours. I don't know
Well,
who
maybe-
attended.
Yeah, but I don't know what their rules are. There's 3 of them.
I don't either,
But-
so.
It could be that that is their time for public comment.
I don't know,
That's open to.
but maybe we could ask, right? Like, I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Sure.
Great, that was all that we had for new business. So that brings us to our Board of Education Committee and Liaison reports. First one is Buildings and Grounds Operations Committee and Strategic Plan Liaison, Mrs. Grassi.
Okay, that's me. We didn't have a meeting, so I'm gonna keep that short. And strategic plan, we talked about that at our board retreat, and we will be having focus groups that are meeting throughout the month.
Survey too.
And
Survey's
surveys,
coming out as
yeah.
well.
So a great opportunity, if you want to get involved, if you're watching this, please join us for the survey or the, meetings that are coming
Is
up.
the survey
So-
out yet? No. So when it is, I'm sure it's gonna be out online and
Our
we'll push
survey?
that out, yeah.
Yeah, we will push it out, we will put it online, we will get it to as many people as we can.
And that was April, right? That,
I believe the goal is to have it out by April.
no, I was joking
No,
for the
no,
whole
the
plan.
plan to be done?
Yes, I'm
We'll
joking.
see, yeah.
I was waiting for Dr. Malaffer, but she
Yeah.
didn't hear me. That's okay.
She wanted
She
to know what
said
the
April
strategic plan
again.
was.
Oh, April 1st.
Yeah, right?
April
Yes.
first.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
All right, that brings us to Curriculum and Programming Committee and Booster Organization Liaison. Mr. Audino, please.
We also didn't have a meeting due to the proximity of the last month's meeting. As for boosters, we only have a few meetings a year, so I'll probably be a few months before I have an update. And then I'm sure Dr. Rattino / Dr. Malakar is going to update us on the 10th grade reality tour, which will be the only update we would have. So that's it.
That's it. Thank you. Policy Committee and Legislative Liaison, Ms. Brewster.
Okay, well, tonight on your agenda, we have the second reading of the policies, so we will be voting on them. And I know that, I have a summary of all of them, but I didn't know if there were any questions that Dr. Rattino and I could answer. One of the things that is included in there that I just wanted to mention is there's a lot of discussion right now at the state level about the NIL, the name, image, and likeness of athletes. And, but we still have to have a policy, even though there may be some changes. We still have to be on record for having a policy. Okay, because it's in a state of flux, right, Dr. Rattino?
Well, OHSAA adopted it, and they have a policy, so the Ohio High School Athletic Association has a case, and then we have to adopt a policy based on what there is legislation introduced in the General Assembly to basically ban NIL, and I think that will be challenged in courts, and I don't know where it's gonna go. I mean, NIL is a big thing, I think 38 states right now have NIL for high schools. OHSAA's policy is very school-friendly from that standpoint, because it puts a lot of the onus on the athlete as well as the OHSAA and takes it out from us. So,
And then I know you've put it in your superintendent report, but we've discussed at the other board meetings about the new entrance requirements for students entering preschool, kindergarten, or first grade, that you must be a certain age by the first day of school, correct?
yeah, and it's important to note that that changes every year. So I think there's a lot of confusion with that, because the traditional September 1st or September 30th or August 1st date, it's going to shift every single year. So we'll get questions about my son won't be 5 until August 26th, 2027, and the date this year is August 24th. I'm just making these dates up to be completely transparent. And the answer really is, we don't know what the date is yet, because the board hasn't approved the calendar. It's a good thing we are 2 years out with our calendar, which really helps the planning. But we haven't approved a calendar for next year. So once we approve the calendar, and that will be in April, because it has to be 30 days from the last. Once you approve that calendar, then we will get those dates out as soon as we can, for this is the kindergarten date and this is the preschool date for the next school year.
Okay, and then a lot of the other policies had to do with Dr. Thompson, with budget preparation, purchasing and bidding, procurement of federal funds and grants, and use of credit cards, and it just goes on and on. Tax exempt, vendor relations, so on and so forth. And then there was one at the last one there that had to do with AI. And teachers and students have had input in drafting and formulated guidelines in our district, correct?
Correct.
And so, you know, we have to have something there. We do have Magic School, which acts as a filter, and that's been a good thing, correct?
So we are, we did use Magic School for your Magic School is an AI program. We are looking, as part of our cost containment situations at using the Google product. We have found a way that if we get a different filter, we can filter Google. The issue with AI itself is filtering the AI language model so that when it goes out and searches, it is also filtered. So we found a different filter. Mr. Renwick found one that actually will filter Gemini, which is Google's, which provides us with the savings for that. So Magic School, we will go back to the free version of Magic School for our staff, and then provide Google Gemini for staff and students once we get the filter in place and everything kind of set up in those domains, so for next year.
And Dr. Thompson, did you have anything about the policies? I know you've gone over a lot of those changes with us.
Yeah, and we're implementing them as they affect staff members as well, so that's pretty consistent. So I think we're in good spot at this point.
Sound good? All right, and then I know we have our next meeting on, is it April 14th? Hold on, you have it at the end of the agenda.
We do April 14th.
April 14th at 7 o'clock. And I know Mr. McIntyre is working on 2 policies for us that we discussed, and so we'll be able to talk further about those that we started our board work session. And then as far as legislative liaison, 2 bills that Dr. Attino mentioned to me. One of them was Ohio Senate Bill 19, which would allow a public school student who scored below proficient in a state assessment test in math or English language arts to receive academic intervention services at no cost. And it's going to the House for consideration, is that right?
It is. It's actually in the House
It's
now.
in the
That
House.
one is getting a lot of traction, and it will be there will be a vote to it. We know some of our school advocates are working to take the high dosage tutoring requirement out because of the cost to it. This is unfunded, and work through the MTSS process and put that specifically in there. We know MTSS works. We have a good MTS process here
Yeah.
even, so to make sure that that process is in there. So there are going to be some updates to it, but there will be something that comes out by the end of this legislative session.
Okay, because originally they tried to model it after the reading with the RIMP plan, they wanted to make the
They-
MIMP whatever
they did,
plan. But no, that would be labor intensive for teachers, I think.
And even at the governor's State of the State address, he did not mention math. People were thinking he was going to mention math. He did not. He talked a lot more about reading and still about that. So I think that's a point to note. Not that it's going to change the Senate. The General Assembly wants math, and they want to address math. But I think they're putting some common sense. They're listening to some changes that are out
Okay,
there.
but is this primarily, for everything I read had to do with 3rd grade math? Kind of like.
It's with all math. It's with any test in math grade.
Any math?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's Senate Bill 19.
Yes.
Then there's this, you just gave me an update tonight, I'm telling you, this is how quickly it changes. House Bill 420 that talks about the continuous levies. What that would mean if it was going forward, but you're saying it's not getting traction, is that all of the levies that we have at Riverside are continuous. So what happens is that it would end those, that there would be, they just don't go on and on and on. They would give them a life of maybe 10 years, and then you'd have to
I
vote
think
for
it's
them
5.
again.
I think it was
Five.
2030.
Yeah, I think they're looking to sunset it quicker.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, it's not getting any traction now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it won't get traction, but as of current right now, it's kind of staying in committee and hasn't moved at all.
It's
Okay.
called an emergency operating levy.
They would make all of them fix some emergency operating. which we would be on the ballot all the time.
Yeah, and this was giving us some way to convert to fixed term or renewed levies prior to 2030.
So
That's
some of
not
the-
very
yes.
far off.
Yeah.
So that was a little scary reading about.
That would be a little bit backwards. We did a lot of hard work to get all those levies turned into continuous levies and
absolutely.
when we did that and purposefully.
Yes.
Okay, and then the other one I just recently read about, and it's called House Bill 715, would add charter school requirements. We often say that some of the private schools are not held accountable like we are for our test scores. And so basically, the Department of Education and Workforce wants them to post annual data that would include, how students are performing in these areas, and compare their academic performance data of scholarship students in chartered non-public schools with similar students in nearby schools. So that was interesting because we know we've talked about vouchers, state scholarship programs under the bill include the Ed Choice Scholarship Program, Autism Scholarship Program, John Peterson Special Needs Scholarship Program, and the Cleveland Scholarship Program. So we're starting to hear about
I feel like one of these comes up almost annually. Where they
It
do some
does,
sort
but
of-
whether it goes
yeah.
anywhere,
And
we don't.
they usually just sit
It
there.
doesn't, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to mention.
I agree with it. I think it's a good thing, but they never.
Okay, so unless there's any other questions, that's my report.
Thank you. And that brings us to Superintendent's Business Advisory. I was unable to make the meeting this morning, so.
We had a
Dr.
very low turnout, and I'll get to a lot of the highlights in my update, so.
All right, so we do not have an update at this time.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, that brings us to the Superintendent's report.
All right, it's a great month. First thing I want to do is just provide the board with an update on Moody's, as we talked about Buckeye tonight. We did meet with Moody's again on February 25th virtually. We went to Moody's Chicago to review the updated current requested COPS issuance. One point of discussion through that was actually the piggyback in the property tax legislation in Ohio, that it was problematic and our forecast looked different than the last time we met with Moody's and explaining the reasons why. They were very understanding to that, and we maintained our AA3 rating for general borrowing and our A1 COPS rating. So we're really excited. That was great news from that, considering we were showing a deficit a little bit earlier than we previously expected. So that's great news from there in that part. On March 2nd, we held our last PD day for the school year, and this is probably one was my favorite. It was awesome. It was really a time for our teachers to share out all of the great things that they did throughout the year. We allowed them, and we encouraged, we had them pick a topic of personalized learning, flexible learning, student engagement, or evidence of learning, and more that was really kind of to them, and do some investigation and work on creating an action plan and a goal for how to get better. On the 2nd, they shared that to their colleagues and had some conversations about what they learned, what their challenges were, and kind of how they continue to move forward and move through those. And it was just, when you walked around, it was there was engagement, there was our colleagues, they were bragging to one another, hey, I did this, I did that. Our classified staff was engaged throughout the day with different types of trainings along the way. And then we ended the day with an all-staff meeting in the auditorium. So we put all 600 into that auditorium, kind of sat them down and went through some highlights of the year and another opportunity to thank them. And March isn't really a great time to thank them all because we still have, and we're getting into spring break, which is a really tough month. March is awful in the education world until spring break. But really got a chance to bring them in and thank them for all of their work this year, for being such a successful year, and kind of setting and level setting as we move forward. So we celebrated the retirements that we had at that point. We will do that again in May this year with our annual staff kind of cookout, but really wanted to have an opportunity to have those retirees stand up. A lot of them were not there for their last day, which was unfortunate. But we also had an opportunity. It was just really kind of a great high energy day, and really some of the things our staff are doing for kids are amazing. Between how they're utilizing AI and sharing some of those AI utilization things to make and personalize lessons and opportunities for kids, to how they're increasing engagement in their classroom, to how they're kind of, our career electives got to share some of their things and how they're using that to drive a curriculum. So gave our staff a whole different opportunity for that. So kudos to Dr. Malacher and her team.
Is there a date for the cookout yet?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So out of our business advisory group was the idea of this Riverside reality tour. So on March 5th, our 10th grade high schools participated in their first ever reality tour. This was a huge undertaking for our sophomores. We had 15 business owners come in to speak to students, and then students went out to the community to visit local businesses. That's a challenge enough, and it was a significant challenge. But to make it tougher, we decided to kill the power to Lamuth and cancel Lamuth once the kids were on the bus, so delay the whole thing. So to add stress to the buses were supposed to leave by 9. They did not get there till 10 or so, and just to watch them pivot. We also had the scheduled online SAT that day for our juniors. You can't take an online test when the internet's out. So there was a whole lot of pivoting going out throughout this entire campus, but to see our staff, led by Dr. Locker, pull that off, and to kind of work and move and shift things. They were going to Lakeland, and we called Lakeland and said, yeah, we're a little late. We don't have power in one of our buildings. To kind of see that happen, along with picking up, all of our students and facilitating a pickup at the high school, getting our buses and everything else. It was a really big lift in the first place to do the first ever anything grade-wide. If you add that little wrinkle to it, it was a huge lift. And I got to say, the committee pulled it off great. The businesses they went to were amazing. They went to businesses and saw more than just what that. So they went to Adventure Subaru, and they talked to Adventure Subaru not about like car sales, but they talked about the legal parts of it, the financing parts of it, the different parts that go into all of that business. They went to both the city of, they went to the city of Painesville, the different opportunities that are open there. Where's
Oh, they went to UH, they went to Component Repair Technology, they went to Classic Hyundai. There were 15 businesses that we did across
Went to
Lake
the Y.
Tran. Was
Went
one
to
of
the Y.
the, yeah, that was the Y. They went to the Y because we wanted them to see a nonprofit organization, but that you can have a career in a nonprofit organization. So it was, and then in the morning they each heard from. Sorry, stealing your
No, that's
They heard from entrepreneurs. So they got to hear the story from different entrepreneurs, at least 3 of them they heard from, because a lot of our students think about starting a business or want to start a business, and they need to know the good, bad, and the ugly of that. So there was no tech involved with that. They just, the entrepreneurs and the small business owners in the community came in, and ladies and gentlemen did double duty for us. They came in as entrepreneurs to talk in the morning, and then took kids in to show them the business. Wyatt Works and Wycliffe came in and talked in the morning and had students out in the afternoon. If I forgot anyone, I apologize, because everybody was fantastic that day. It was a great day.
I got to witness it firsthand. Well, at least the entrepreneurs. The Lamuth thing also threw a wrinkle because I had to turn into dad and go pick up my daughters. They were like, come to the high school and pick me up. I said, I'm already here. Anyhow, the entrepreneurs really stepped up. It's daunting to go into a 10th grade classroom at 7:30 in the morning and present something to them. And they were kind of speaking off the cuff, but still had a presentation put together. Like you said, it was no technology. They were just standing in front of the group, and it was neat seeing the teacher and the students interact with them and be pretty engaged despite it being in the morning. So, but nice job.
So thank you to our business owners, as well as Dr. Malacher was proud, who did a lot of the legwork for some of it, and our teachers. Because anytime you change the day and throw a wrinkle into it, it does cause some stress. So they were able to kind of adapt and overcome, and you really make it happen. And then you throw in the no power and everything else. It was an interesting day. We were tired at the end of it, that's for sure. So, winter sports update. A lot of good news that came from our boys basketball team was district champs. They beat Solon in the semifinals and North Canton Hoover in the finals and advanced to regionals for the first time. They made it to Kent State last night and unfortunately lost to North Royalton, so their season is over. But great season for them. Gymnastics, they're killing it again. They went to states. Mia Petrovic placed 13th in the floor event, and Allison Urbis placed 17th. Allison Urbis is amazing as an athlete because just prior to gymnastics, and I think I'll get to that next slide. I think it's on here next. I'm gonna skip ahead one. She was in the indoor track meet. So she goes to the indoor track meet and plays second in the 60-meter hurdles, drives down to Columbus and competes in the state gymnastics meet, all in the same day. If I did either one of those, I would be out for 3. So it was just an amazing feat for her specifically, just to highlight her. But then wrestling finished 3rd overall as sectionals, having 7 district qualifiers: Kamari Jordan, Tristan O'Kelly, Ben Hainsley, Mason Van Pelt, Nick Hansen, and Dom Botigi. Unfortunately, none of them finished 4th or higher to make it to states this weekend, but a great showing by them. Our girls wrestling team in the 2nd year, London Davis was a sectional champ and a district runner-up, and London is headed to the state wrestling tournament this weekend in Columbus, so congratulations to her. Lizette Rodriguez was a district qualifier, and I think she finished 5th, if I'm not quite sure.
I think
or 6th.
She
Just missed it. She was on that edge, but that again, 2nd year of a program, and we've already got someone in the state bound trying to get a state place for it. So that's great. Indoor track. Kendall Michaela placed 4th in the 60-meter dash. Mark Koji was 3rd in the shot put. Josh Porter was 9th. So we have 2 phenomenal shot putters in the state meet. Was 11th in the weight throw, which is only an indoor competition. And then I mentioned Allison Urbis already. And academic decathlon. So not only athletics, but academics. Our academic decathlon team competed at the state competition at JCU last weekend. So there's a lot going on here last Friday. Buses coming in and out trying to get people there. They won. Our senior Andrew Costner picked 4 gold medals and 3 silver medals on the way to winning the large school honor division. It's amazing. Sophia Alexander earned the team a 2nd consecutive speech showcase and won her 1st state gold medal for her speech. And Sarah Harrigan, Hunter Russell, Shambhavi Sajiv, Kira Ziga also earned medals. And I know a lot of those names are also involved in the theater production this weekend, which is after Senior Citizen Appreciation Night. So tonight we have more than 200, just before this, we fed more than 250 seniors for our biannual Senior Appreciation Night. They enjoyed a free meal prepared by our principal of foods class. They serve it to them. It's a phenomenal night. Then they got to head next door to see the premiere of our spring musical, Between the Lines, which is, there's 2 more showings. There's tomorrow night at 7:30 and Saturday night at 7:30. Tickets can be purchased either on the website or there are some available at the door. I've heard nothing but great reviews from that, as well as the acting and performance is amazing. And we're getting ready for kindergarten. Kindergarten registration, as we talked about a little bit in policy update, is coming up. It begins March 30th to register online. Please make sure we do that for the class of 2039. The class of 2039 will be registering. One of the things we have started, which is a fantastic program, is Kindergarten Kickoff. That's May 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 at each elementary school, at your zoned elementary school. We ask that people register for that ahead of time. Hopefully we're registering for kindergarten. It does allow us to kind of plan for kindergarten. We will be doing kindergarten camp as well this year with our kindergartners, so really excited for that program. So if you have a 5-year-old by, what's the date? By the 24th, so if your son or daughter turns 5 by August 24th, make sure you register them for kindergarten. And finally, the Easter egg hunt is here again, Saturday, April 4th on the front lawn of the campus. We are doing a delayed start for the Easter egg hunt, so it's going to be from 12 to 12:02. We're going to try to extend it by twice as long this year. Hopefully we're not expecting any snow. We have had it before, so dress appropriately. We will pick up eggs, rain, shine, snow, hail. It's the USPS of Easter egg hunts. So as long as it's not lightning, we're going to have kids out there picking up those eggs.
What am I missing? 12 to 12:02
It-
or 12:01?
So it literally lasts a minute. It's 20,000 eggs, I think, and it takes a minute to pick it up. It is so fun to watch.
Wow. So I'm going to have to
Don't be
shove
late.
and stuff?
Yeah, don't be late.
Oh, no one's told you you're the Easter Bunny this year.
Oh, I would love
The
to see that.
suit's too big. Sorry.
Yeah, probably.
It's too long. It falls down.
And finally, looking for all singers out there, RHS is inviting you to perform in the Riverside Alumni Community Choir Concert on May 23rd. Rehearsal dates are listed above. If you are interested, it's on the website, or you can enter the website to fill out the form as well as a QR code that is there. They'll take you even if you can't carry a tune. So please join for that. It is for community members or alumni, either one. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you. That brings us to the treasurer's report and committee updates. So first is Finance, Audit, Personnel Committee, and Alumni Association. Mr. Byers?
Okay, we did have a meeting Tuesday. We have one retirement. She's not even paying attention.
No.
I heard that. Just one.
She's retiring.
Congratulations, and thank you for your service, and enjoy. And that brings us to peak hiring season. We registered 4 different job fairs, and we're trying to get postings out before or just after spring break through multiple channels, which would cover both exempt and certified employees. The staffing survey went out and closes tomorrow, and this helps with short-term, long-term staffing needs. We had 300 responses as of Tuesday.
We're almost at 400.
There we go. There was an updated classified and exempt staff evaluation form that mirrors the image of Riverside Beaver, a portrait of a Riverside Beaver. Then we have updates to administrative handbook that Chris has started working on. And then there are a few items on here that I'll touch on briefly that we're going to vote on later. School Links renewal, which is K through 12 college guidance and readiness software, and career assessments, and sends transcripts to colleges. There is an NWEA renewal. That's our testing software for K through 12 for achievement and gifted, and that's tests 3 times a year.
Correct.
And that is actually paid out of the gifted funds. We have a contract with CDWG for Chromebooks for 1st and 7th grades. We are looking into offer insurance for parents. And then we have a Microsoft licensing renewal. And that, what was that again? The directory?
Yeah, Active Directory.
Yeah. And I think the rest, finance-wise, Steve will cover in his section. And then one last thing, the Alumni Association. Again, I'm going to throw out there that we have the 5th Annual Alumni Association Golf Outing is on June 30th at Painesville Country Club. It'll be $100, and it'll include 18 holes, 18-hole scramble with cart, a hot dog lunch, and I've been told the hot dogs are amazing, and a Mission barbecue dinner. After dinner, there will be awards and prizes, and you can stay up to date by following their Facebook page or visiting their website. Another message they wanted to get out is they don't get a lot of participation in people applying for scholarships. They do award 3 one-time scholarships at $1,500 each. We've only had 1 applicant in each of the last 2 years, and quite frankly, $3,000 that they didn't pay out last year went to the softball news scoreboard.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Just a note on that scholarship, what they're looking for is students whose family also came from Riverside. So they're looking, it's truly an alumni scholarship. So again, great opportunity. And if you don't know how to fill out the application, you can reach right out to the guidance office. So
Yeah, parent or grandparent had to attend Riverside
Yeah.
to be eligible for that one.
I think that just begs the question, we have a ton of scholarships out there on our site, and that people should apply for them, and, you know, the return on investment from applying for all those scholarships is better sometimes than getting a part-time job, so.
Just a point of note, the alumni golf, I believe is June 20th.
What did I
I
say?
think you said June 30th.
I thought 30,
Okay.
it's a Tuesday.
It's the 20th, yeah, sorry.
So it's a Saturday. The
It's a
Saturday, yeah.
yeah.
It's a Saturday, yes.
There was one more thing related to finance that I didn't see on there. We did get audit results for finance, right?
Just wrapped up.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to, I think we got an email on that, right? Last night?
Probably last night, I
Yeah.
believe.
You didn't read it yet?
No, I didn't. So maybe Steve can touch on that.
All
And
right,
that's it.
anything else for, perfect. So then that brings us to the treasurer's report.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Melissa on that day of PD. It was incredibly well organized, and I appreciate organization done correctly, and it was done to a T. And I do have to rat out Mike Patrizzi. He is the one who plugged a second light into his office, and that's why we lost power across the district. It's true. So am I going the right way?
No, other way.
Well, I'm going to talk about the community. No,
You're going to join the community choir.
Yeah, you do not want that, I assure you. So just a quick update on where we're at financially, and we're actually, good news, we're actually a little bit ahead of our projections, not significantly, but it is helpful. Our total cash balance is at $30.3 million, and that general fund balance is $20.36 million, but there's obviously some encumbrances against that, about just a little over $4 million. So we're at $16 million unencumbered at this point. Our investments, you can see on the yield at 3.76. It's not at the height what we saw, probably a year ago. We were pushing 5s, somewhere in that range. So they are starting to come down, but they're still making some money. So overall, when I say our financial position remains stable, we all know we're levy imminent, but there's nothing additionally falling that we can see at this point. So again, all our revenue and other sources are $37.53 million, and you can see, where they go. And again, that's no real surprise on where they go. And this is where they come from. Again, no real surprise either. That revenue is, and if we were to go back, you can see revenue, you can see, the next slide will get it, I'm sorry. Our revenue collections, this is about 66% of the way through what we've estimated through the year. And our property taxes, again, no surprise to anyone here, is the lion's share of our collections, the state and other revenue. We're talking about general fund here. This is the slide I was referencing. The 37.16 in our expenditures, let's go back real quick, 37.53 is revenue. So we are actually, right now, by the skin of our Rennie 1010, not in deficit spending, which is a good thing. We thought we would be at closer to $1 million to the good until the 1.6 million, well actually 800,000 came from the decision of the Lake County.
Homestead.
Yeah, it was a homestead and owner occupancy, doubling those. They didn't have to do that. Salary and wages accounts for our biggest piece between that and employee benefits, which again is pretty consistent with what you'll see year over year over year. Investments, this is just a breakdown of where they are. So we're doing the very best we can to stretch those dollars and make them last a little bit longer. I did want to hit on recent transfers to make sure we all are on the same page. That $65,000 from general fund to the PI account is one positive thing that did come from the Briscoe report. I know that Mrs. Grassi really enjoyed that presentation from Mr. Briscoe. She was thoroughly impressed. But we did find as we were auditing where we had spent 65 million out of
65,000.
million, I'm sorry, 65,000, thank you. That would be significant, 65 million. $65,000 just got caught up in a larger bundle of curriculum material, and we know we just have to really do our due diligence to vet that out to make sure that we're not catching a consumable, and that was a consumable, and that's why it occurred. So that's being corrected, and then the auditors did find it was we had $1 million coming in and $800,000 coming in, and it should have gone. It was just an error in where they were placed between the PI and general fund. So we put too much money in the PI account. Should have been 800,000 in, not $1 million. So we have to fix that, which I believe we've already done. I shouldn't say we. Mike did that. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrizzi. And this occurred, of course, due to that error, just a human error. But it does not affect our audit. We still will have a clean audit. Clean audit doesn't sound phenomenal, but that's the best you can do, is a clean audit. And I believe you guys received some documentation on that. So again, we're in a slightly better to the tune right now, pretty close to $1 million more than what I had forecasted, and even forecasted in our update of when was our 5-year forecast? February, our February forecast, yes.
So I wasn't understanding, what was the million, and you said
So
how it
two-
was split out?
Two chunks of money came in, $1 million and 800,000.
From what, where?
Just the collections, just the tax collections.
I see.
And one, and they were both deposited, if you will,
Yeah.
but they got flipped in the accounts
I
they
see.
should have gone to.
Okay.
So this is just a correction of
Yeah.
that. We didn't lose any money, it was just put in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And the board could have chosen to transfer it if they wanted to, but there wasn't any board documentation to
Yeah.
justify that, so
They made
transfer.
it was in a management letter point, and it didn't affect anything else. They said it
No,
was just a
right.
classification.
It was a letter, which I wish we didn't get the letter, but, you know, it was a mistake, but
So do
not
we have-
significant.
Do we have any idea if we're gonna get the auditor of state board again yet? Did they tell you that before, or did they just wait a while?
Well, Mike asked the question, called the state to see if that was impacted, and I believe the answer is we think no.
That's, what they indicated was
It's just
based
an-
on, you know, the one correction we had to make, that they didn't think that would be an issue, but they don't get to make that judgment.
Right,
It goes
okay.
down to the state level and then, but they.
I mean,
said
they're
that
auditing
would-
our books overall, total, all funds, so it doesn't really,
Correct.
there's no effect. Anyway, but if anybody wants any light reading, I suggest you
And
read the audit report.
just to let people know, it goes beyond just the financial. I mean, we had some technology pieces in there. There was a whole food service piece that was there. So they go beyond just looking at the numbers, so.
Yeah, they audited us, for sure. So that concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to public participation. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the board president. Speakers are requested to speak from the podium, which is our nice table over here. Identify themselves and their topics. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment tonight? No? All right. All good. All right. That brings us to the consent agenda part of the meeting. So first up is finance audit.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items listed on the items A through G on the finance audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second? I didn't catch
Uh,
it.
Belinda.
Ms. Crosby.
No discussion? Steve, can you take the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Adino,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to consent agenda for personnel.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items listed A through E and F as a separate
So
item.
just do A through E. sorry.
That's okay, yeah. A through E on the personal consent agenda as recommended by the Senator. And I'd also like to make a motion to approve approve item
Just do one.
1.
Just one at a
Can I get a
time.
second?
I'll second.
Throw the curveball.
That's okay.
Sadly, I think I'll have to approve the retirements.
Any discussion?
Yes, hold on, let me reverse back. So this is, Dr. Malakar is on here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Malaka, we're, in 2010, were you here at the high school as an assistant principal before you went to Madison Avenue?
I think that's the year I went to Madison.
I think that was the year, yeah, when I think, the first year I got elected, you were here, but then you moved.
You were also teaching classes at the
I
YMCA.
remember that.
And when you walked in, I called you the Gestapo of Step Olympics.
And I didn't know, I had no clue you were, like, that she was the principal. It was really funny, I remember that. But we've been around together a long time together. I'll be sad to see you go. Thank you for all your
Yes,
contributions.
Dr.
to this
Malakar,
district.
would you mind sharing your tenure with the school district? Remind us what your full
Kindergarten,
tenure is.
from kindergarten?
So, yes, so I am a graduate, graduated in '89, raised my family here, all 3 of my children graduated from here also. 32 years in the district, I don't know anything else but Riverside. I was a teacher at Lamouth for 11 years. I was the assistant principal at John R. for 3 years, principal at Madison Avenue for 2. Assistant Director of Pupil Services, 2 things that Jim Kalis did for me, shout out to Jim Kalis for my career. Would not let me become an administrator unless I did a run through the high school as an assistant. I didn't want to be at the high school at all. So best learning experience there for administration, and he would not let me be the Director of Pupil Services. He hired Cheryl instead and made me the second in command, which was wonderful, but it only lasted a year. And then for 15 years, I've been the Director of Curriculum. And for 2.5 weeks, I've been the assistant superintendent. Which, true story, somebody asked me at Lakeland last week when we were there, how long have you been the assistant superintendent? And I literally had to verbally say a week. No one has ever asked me how long I've been the director of curriculum, but it was
A week.
Right, and I just want to give you credit for writing the grant that is the reason we're sitting here now for the CTX edition, and your vision on that and what you've done for that program is amazing, so thank you.
I'm envious of our short time together, but everybody loves you, and I can see why, so.
But I appreciate that. I'm fairly self-aware.
I would like to just say, I mean, ultimately, she has taken us from a curriculum programming standpoint and continue to push through even the tough times to the things that we're sitting in today and what we have today, and the valuable programming that we have for our students kind of moving forward is phenomenal. It's an honor to call her a colleague, but even more as a friend, and so hard to replace.
You're the only person that has been here.
The OG.
Yeah, like the,
Everyone's
like,
leaving.
right? I
I don't
mean,
know. I think it's me.
you're the lone holdout yet, so.
So I think they're trying to make you cry. Would you like me to move on?
Yeah, no. I prefer that that's for the camera.
Steve, could you take the roll?
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Idino,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve item F on the, listed on the personal consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, you know, just in thinking about the proposal of a 5-year contract, I really had a hard time going 5 years, given the financial situation that we're finding ourselves in, but also the fact that, you know, even though a solid foundation has been laid for improvement academically in our district, we are hoping to see better test results. We certainly are seeing some gains in a lot of areas, but you know, when you look at neighboring schools, you know, we're lagging. And so I have every confidence that Dr. Rotino will be able to bring those scores up with working with the staff. But I could only support a 3-year contract.
Any other discussion? Dr. Thomas, can you take the roll?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Nay.
Steve, was there a second for that?
I did.
Yes, Mrs. Krasinski seconded. And speaking of which,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
That brings us to curriculum and programming consent agenda.
Motion to approve the items listed A through B on the curriculum and programming consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Dr. Thompson?
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to buildings and grounds and operations.
I have the easiest one, we have nothing.
Oh.
So, here you go.
And that brings us to policy.
Okay. I need a motion to approve item A, the adoption of the new and revised board policies on the consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, take the roll.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that brings us to Board of Education business. First item is a motion to adopt the portrait of a Riverside board member as attached. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I think we had our attorney look it over, and we're fine as far as, you know, legal responsibilities as a board member. Okay.
So I just want to say, I'm really excited about the fact that we're putting something out in a document that's similar to a portrait of a Riverside Beaver and a Riverside graduate, and that tells the public what the board expects of themselves. And so I think that was great work, and I'm proud of that. I don't know about the rest, but.
No, I agree. Matter of fact, I wouldn't mind if maybe Dr. Rotino, not to put you on the spot, maybe share with the public a little bit more about this document and what the intent is.
So the intent really of this document is kind of the foundation of all of the evaluations that aren't dictated to us. And it's not that this is an evaluative document. Basically, everything we have done since the business advisory created this portrait of Riverside Beaver document is to tie actions to it. So we've tried to operationalize as much as we can. So we've done it and presented actions and behaviors that you would expect to see in our students. And then we took that and converted it to our staff. So the recent staff update or staff evaluation is tied directly to it. So every characteristic kind of fits to that. As we shifted towards looking at the board handbook, which is next, but then also Mr. Ardino had mentioned, hey, let's, as he was part of developing the document, when he was on the business advisory, let's push this for the board member and operationalize it for a board member and the expectations for that. We took a look at all the characters, all the attributes that are there, the 8 ones, and spelled them out for that. I think the next step of it is to try to make it look similar to the actual portrait in some sort and post it to the Board of Education website so that it can be seen for everyone. It's a 2-page document right now that is linked on it. It's something that we are I think the board did a great job at the retreat, working through it, having like some discussions, and I would agree. I think it's exciting to kind of see this is what our board members, and this is what it is. Because I think it's thankless work that you guys do, and it's not even January, I'm talking high value, which is Board Appreciation Month, but it is thankless work, and to really have that, this is the reasons why we're here, is important.
Yeah, and, you know, thank you for that. In other school districts, maybe not necessarily in Lake County in particular, but there can be a mentality between the board and the school district that it's an us versus them. And I do really think that this gives more of an example of we collectively, and that the decisions made at this table really do have an immediate impact on everybody in the school district, in the community, and I certainly think it helps bridge that gap. So thank you for doing the work behind the scenes to make this come true.
It was an honor, and it does tie into finding one community, because everyone is tied to this document.
And from my perspective, I am hopeful that future iterations of this board and people who decide to run for Board of Education will look at that document or will be given that document in advance so that they understand what the expectations of the community and the district are going forward, so.
And the document is available out there for anyone to take a look at, so.
We will get it on the board page as it is, and we'll try to update it so it matches the other document.
Perfect, thank you.
We have to vote.
Thank
We
you.
have to vote.
Any other discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Idino.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great. And that brings us to the second piece of Board of Education business is an update to the Board of Education handbook. So there's a motion to approve the Riverside Local School District Board of Education handbook as attached. Can I get a second?
I'll second. Or you can second.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Ms. Grassi,
I have a discussion.
go ahead.
And again, I had some questions I didn't know. Dan, did you get to look at those, or?
Yes.
Everything's good?
I did.
Okay, all right, and I in particular, liked having more detail about the different committees because, description, because, you know, that changes over time, but it also, anybody coming onto a committee that's new, whether you're new to the board or just new to a committee, it's nice to have the detail there.
I think we've had the updates to the board handbook for over a year at this point. It's just nice to be able to finally get them approved.
It is. So, great. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Idino.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
And Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and the last thing on our board business is the vouchers for Ohio. So resolution authorizing the Riverside Local School District's joinder of the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I know we got some information from Ms. Grassi at the last meeting, and I provided some as it relates to legislative things going on around the state. I just want to reiterate that, you know, in looking further into this, currently, just for everyone's information, there were 5 counts in the lawsuit, and 3 of those were already ruled on, but they're being appealed, from what I understand. And that's supposed to happen sometime in August from the last information I heard. I also wanted to try to get a better understanding of why in Lake County only Wickliffe belongs to this coalition, and why doesn't Menor, Willoughby, Eastlake, Madison, Painesville City, or Kirtland belong? And, you know, I know that there were some comments shared at the last meeting about, you know, that within the population of our community, people have different feelings about this because this is a political issue. Some people believe that vouchers should exist, some don't. What has really happened of late is that there's been problems with the amount of money going to certain entities, and, you know, be it private, parochial, charter, whatever. But, you know, it currently is being challenged in a lawsuit. I know it's only $2 a kid to belong to this, but that's for 1 year, and then you have to keep paying for it. And this could be tied up in the courts for some time, so it is an expenditure. But the one that really surprised me was the impact of, you know, why, let's say, you know, one school district, I'm not going to name it, could have well approved this long ago. They had the votes to approve it. And they absolutely won't, because they ran the numbers and they won, or they basically prevailed on the passage of a levy by 200 votes. And that's exactly the number of kids who are using vouchers in their district. And even to this day, they don't want to touch this because they need every vote they can get to pass this issue. So I just heard that from a very good source. None of us have a crystal ball how long this is going to take to, but it is in the courts right now. One of the things that I've, you know, struggled with is that I look at, I hear stories, you know, like you're in the grocery store, or you're at a school, or you hear from different people. You know, it doesn't seem like $8,000 is a lot, but then when you hear that how many kids can't afford 6th grade camp, so they can't go. So if this is already in the courts, and I feel that this is going to be righted through the courts, and I know part of it is funding that fight, but, you know, I would rather see the money spent on kids being able to go to 6th grade camp.
I think if we got more money from the state, we might be able to pay for 6th graders to go to camp. I think there's that thought. I don't think anybody, I'm only gonna speak for myself, not for anybody else at the table right now. There's no thought that there is something wrong with vouchers. I don't personally even have anything wrong with vouchers. I have a problem with the methodology and the amount of money that is being given to vouchers, and the eligibility for people who are getting vouchers in the voucher expansion program specifically, not the other 4 vouchers, though those are there for specific purposes, and those shouldn't be taken away. I think the lawsuit says things, but at the end of the day, it's about the funding mechanism and the fact that we can't get our fair share. And again, like we shared at the last meeting, that if we got the same amount of money as the average student in Lake County is getting, we would be getting over $20 million from the state, and we get 8. So I think there's some inequity there, and I believe that that's worth fighting for. That's my personal opinion, again.
I completely agree that the voucher equity is ridiculously unbalanced and not in our favor. So with Ms. Grassi, I'm in complete agreement there. Voucher equity is necessary and an overdue conversation in Ohio. The students and teachers at Riverside and other public schools are being penalized significantly as a result of it. However, I do have some hesitations not to $8,000, not to fighting this fight, but my hesitation is specific to the coalition that's behind the lawsuit, and I'm going to share with you why I have those hesitations. My largest concern is transparency. Based on their membership model, they have likely collected several millions of dollars since 2020, yet there's no publicly available accounting of how those funds have been allocated, spent, reserved. There's no P&L statement, which even a nonprofit would have a P&L statement. No annual report, no breakdown of legal expenditures, no clarity on how long funding will be needed. The coalition is not new. It's been around since 1991, at least according to their website. But the most alarming thing was that membership is not specific or limited to this current voucher lawsuit. In fact, the list of over 300 member districts in their material, if you read the fine print, mentions that these are members that have been a member at some time of 1 year or more. These are not a list of current members. But the way it's worded vaguely on the homepage makes it sound like these are the current, that there's this large coalition behind this fight. So there's no transparency whether there's one school a part of this coalition or 300. That bothers me, that there's no transparency there. The third is the coalition's mission does appear to be broader than the lawsuit. I'll give you a couple quotes right off of their website. The website states, quote, currently membership is supporting the Ed Choice voucher litigation. So the word currently suggests to me that membership dues may support other initiatives, past, present, or future. They also highlight that membership has supported other litigations in the past. And I do have a concern about the coalition's overall messaging in a press release specific to this lawsuit. They state in part, quote, vouchers also create a system of state-funded discrimination. Private schools regularly practice discrimination and reject students for a wide range of reasons, unquote. Regularly practices discrimination, I have a problem with, because according to whom and defined how, and unfortunately they don't provide those examples. Our community in particular has students who go to NDCL, St. Gabriel's, Lake Catholic, our Shepherd Lutheran, Montessori programs, and I believe they would take issue with that characterization. I'm not here to advocate for private schools, but I am here to point out that this coalition's rhetoric does appear to extend beyond the issue of funding equity specific to vouchers. So to be clear, I don't see joining this coalition as a win. I don't see not joining as a loss. I'm fully committed to fighting for equitable funding for our students. I simply believe we can do so partnering with someone who demonstrates a little more transparency. Again, I do understand the value behind this, and I'm for voucher equity, but this in particular raises some concerns for me.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Has anybody reached out to them for that documentation? Because I'd love to have it too.
Yeah. No, their website appears to be thorough until you start opening up documents, and they're very repetitive. I didn't see anywhere for me to send them an email, but I'm certainly happy to do that if we wanted to move this to a different conversation.
Do we want to table this to see if we can get
I would,
somewhere?
I'm fully supporting the information that you're bringing here. Like, I'm right, I don't want to be throwing my money away at somebody who's not going to use it as intended. I would like to know what they do with their money also, right?
So
Can we,
I'm
like,
looking
I
for a
think, I
P&L
think,
statement?
well, I would think
Okay.
that if they're an organization, they should have something
Yeah, I mean,
that
they
lists their expenditures. They got to do a tax return. It's not like they can't, they've got to report.
Yep, and when they're gathering money publicly, it should be publicly available. A P&L statement would be helpful, or whatever version they want to call, but I would also like a list of who truly are coalition members, because again, it's kind of deceptive the way that they advertise it and they market it. And even with that, I will say that the last quote I read, I just feel that their broader agenda is more encompassing than just voucher equity. I would say it's pretty anti-voucher. Again, I'm not here to advocate for that, but I just want to make sure that even if they answered those questions, my concern would be, not that I'm saying it would be a no vote a month from now, would be what their broader coalition stands for outside of just voucher equity.
So are we looking to make a motion to postpone to the April business meeting?
I can make that motion, then yes,
Is
I
the
will.
motion, can I, Robert's rules question, because I know we didn't get the training tonight and we had it. But is a motion to table? No, to postpone.
Okay.
I had a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I still wanted to respond to that. Thank you, Joe, for getting that information. One of the things I left out is that we're a member of NEO, which is like the ESC, and of Northeast Ohio, and they are a member. And we pay how much a year to belong to NEO?
We don't pay, we funnel our flow-through funds through that.
Okay, so, in a way, we're part of their group, so they're kind of representing us to a degree. Yeah, I keep hearing the number 312 as the number of members. Everything I read goes back to that. I guess when it comes right down to it, we are using taxpayer money and it is taking a political position. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. I don't want it to cause people to vote a different way.
Can I ask the members to email me questions by the end of the weekend specifically, and then maybe,
You have that guy's email address, correct?
The,
It's on the back
Bill
of this,
Phillips.
right?
I do, I was hoping Mr. McIntyre and I could put something together to kind of formally put a request in, but if we have questions through the weekend, I will put them all into a document and sit down with Dan and send it off to them, and hopefully they'll respond.
Thank you.
Sound like a plan?
That'd be helpful.
Perfect.
So we have a motion to postpone this to our April business meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Who seconded that, please?
Mrs. Brewster?
Aye. Sorry,
You did? Okay.
that we're
Thank-
postponing it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Adino,
Aye.
Mr. Brewster.
Miss-
Sorry. Mrs. Brewster. I'm sorry.
Aye.
I was already thinking ahead because the name wasn't on there, and I'm like,
That's
who's not
okay.
on there? It's Mr. Byers.
Oh, wait.
Who's on the next page? Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right. That brings us to a Board of Education update.
Okay, I attended the senior dinner tonight. I missed the play because we had meetings, but see what I can do over the weekend. But I wanted to thank Nick. I heard some people talking about the half sheet where it says we are Riverside, and it's looking to expand our contact reach. And if you're interested in receiving updates or engagement opportunities from the Riverside Local School District, please fill this out below. It's your name and email, and would you like emailed updates and engagement opportunities, yes or no? So the outreach is important because I hear so many positive comments there. Even if I go to the ladies' room, they're raving about the bathroom still. And we did that, what, 2 years ago? Yeah. And the one woman said, oh, I was a student here. When did they do this? I said, 2 years ago. But it was a long overdue and they really appreciate it. So it's just neat to hear the conversation. They are so complimentary of the students serving them, and the food was great. It was a room full of people, which was wonderful. We'll just have to acclimate them to how to get in here easier, because I know there was one gentleman at the table that didn't want to walk all the way down the hall again to go to the men's room. It's quite a distance for some of them. So we'll get that done. And then, what was the other thing? Let's see. I did check just briefly with Ms. Ritt about the playground, preschool playground equipment just being in this, work area. If we could check, because I know that, did they already put in the equipment, or is it slated to go in this spring? I don't know.
At
They
Riverview?
did not put it in because we didn't build anything. I don't know if they put anything in at all. We
So I-
won't have kids there till August.
Yeah, but
so.
they're coming in August, so are we planning on doing something over the summer? Okay.
Over the summer, I don't know. I've talked to the construction class a
Yeah.
couple of times. but
Okay,
we've talked about
because those little guys, 3 to 5, yeah, they need that right-sized playground. So, but not to say that this program can build what they're gonna build, but we have some things on order.
Yeah, they have equipment
Yeah,
coming too.
great.
Ours would just be an add-on.
So, but thank you for following up on that. And then I didn't know if down the road, do we want to extend that to Buckeye, because they're basically gonna rip everything out too. They don't have preschool, but they do have little guys, so there could be, some adjustments, but.
I think we discussed, like, if they make a template, we can make multiple pieces of equipment, once they produce one, but they should be able to do multiple pieces if we find them to be.
Well, it's not going,
appropriate.
the preschool playground is separate from the Riverview playground, correct?
It is.
Right.
Okay, so you're talking about now wanting to build playground equipment for all of the elementaries?
No, I'm talking about that,
Buckeye.
Buckeye's gonna lose a lot of their equipment because we can't save it, especially if it
Well,
ends up.
would-
we would
well,
put a
would
new
have
one
the
in.
Riverview
Yeah, we're gonna put some
outside.
new in, but are there some primary pieces that they might want to, down the road, a year from now, want to maybe consider, especially if
And
they.
that's fine, would we want to do that at Riverview and Parkside so they all have equitable
Possibly,
playgrounds?
if it's
I mean,
needed.
that's- And so we have not had those discussions, but I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody would love to have those conversations with you next fall.
Yeah. The biggest thing is that Buckeye's basically gonna lose a lot of their stuff, so,
Right,
because we
but-
can't
but-
save
But it will
it.
be replaced. I mean, then
Yeah,
there's
it will be
still
replaced.
equitable playgrounds.
They
If
will-
we're gonna
they
build
will
for
be-
Buckeye, then we have to build for
Yeah,
Riverview.
it'll be a part of the project.
Yeah, okay, great, wonderful, thank you.
I would just like to share that Dr. Ratino and I had the opportunity to go to a Boy Scout meeting Tuesday. And it was great. They invited us there to talk about the democratic process, and we did that. But I did want to share that after it was over, a parent came up and had the most wonderful things to say about Riverview staff, where her son goes to school, and that she's never had, like, she's never had a more wonderful experience. She was thrilled and can't wait to send her daughter. So I just wanted to pass that along. It was great to hear that, because she said, well, I know you're always hearing bad things, so I'm just here to tell you something good. So that was great.
All right, any other Board of Education business updates, I mean? All right, next meeting announcements, we have a policy committee meeting April 14th at 7 a.m. Curriculum and Programming Committee meeting April 15th at 7:30 a.m. Finance and Personnel Committee meeting April 16th at 7 a.m. Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting April 21st at 7:30. And Board of Education meeting April 23rd at 6. And a working session on
March 26th.
March 26th at 4:30. That makes us ready to adjourn to executive session. So the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby recesses into an executive session for the purposes of considering the appointment, employment, discipline, and compensation of public employees under revised code 121.22G1, and conferring with an attorney for public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action under revised code 121.22G3. And upon conclusion of this executive session, the board president shall gavel the board back into open session at this location. All matters discussed in these executive sessions are designated to the public officials and employees as confidential pursuant to revised code 102.03B because of the status of the proceedings and/or circumstances under which the information will be received, and preserving its confidentiality is necessary to the proper conduct of government business. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And can you please call the roll?
Miss Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Idino,
Aye?
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Motion carries 5.
All right.
I think we need some